Peace, family. I hope all is well. Hope your Sunday. Hope your Sunday is going well. Hope you have a great, excellent start to the new week. All that good stuff. Make sure you got this on my shirt. This on my shirt. Okay, get that off. Hopefully, you guys have a great start to the week. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe as you come to the chat room. Also, make sure you visit Donfo.Africa. Please visit Donfo.Africa. Also, visit dynastymir.com. Tour we are still rolling to Nigeria in August. Again, we are still rolling to Nigeria in August. Would love for you to join us. If you're interested in joining us in Nigeria, please visit. Shout out to Free Game Podcast. Shout out to Todd Maik. Those are the regulars. Thank you for supporting. If you're interested in rolling with us to Nigeria, please visit Donfo, Danfo, Danfo dot Africa. Again, it's Donfo, Donfo dot Africa, not dot com. It's just dot Africa. Dot Africa is now an extension, so support that extension. So I forgot the name of the lady that started. I think her name is Sophia Bekele. Shout out to Abundance Sunflower. Abundance, we're gonna talk about New York today in these crazy rent prices, but it's only gonna get worse. Abundance Sunflower. I don't know if you're a homeowner or if you're written, but it's only going to get worse as far as rent. People are like, well, they got this crash coming and the recession. Nah, I think rent prices and home prices, they're going to continue to go up. But if they say they do stabilize, which they will eventually, they're still going to be high as hell. And say of home price, and guys, number one, this is not financial advice. Again, this is not financial advice. Please invest at your own risk. But say there is a crash, it's not even going to be a crash. It might be a small dip. Whether it be in rental prices, whether it be in real estate, home prices, it's gonna be something small, man. Like people are expecting this. People are expecting this 2008 is crash. Hey, it's not gonna happen, man. It's not gonna happen at all. Um, Okay, born and raised in Harlem, but live in Jersey suburbs. Oh, okay, got you. Okay, but you still rep Harlem. Okay, yeah, but it's not gonna be this 2008 crash where you like houses in my neighborhood now going for 500, $600,000. Homes in my neighborhood in Atlanta, when the ish hit the fan, they were selling houses for $30,000. Fully renovated houses, 100,000. You know, So, back 2012, 2011, when everything like started to level out, you get a fully renovated house in my community, 3 bed, 2 bath for about 1,500, 1,600 square feet, 100,000, $110,000. Now, it's that same house, my community, fully renovated, 500, maybe 475. And that's for like less than 2,000 square feet. That's about 600, 1,600 square feet. If you're talking homes like mine, 2-story, fully renovated, close to 3,000 square feet, 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath, you're talking, $600,000, 6 to 650. That's how much the market is changed now. So yeah, Harlem doesn't exist anymore. Now Harlem is still there. It's just it's drastically different. I haven't been to Harlem since 2019. So when I used to fly out, like I've told you guys before, when I fly out of the country, guys, let me send this message to somebody real quick, and then I'm gonna show you guys the poster. Um, I'm gonna show you guys excuse me. I'm gonna show you guys the poster for the upcoming documentary. That's almost done. So I'm gonna show it to you guys real quick. Get your guys' feedback on it. Let me send it to. I want to send it to somebody real quick before I forget. Here we go. Let me send this to one more person, guys. Give me a second. I just want to send it to one more person. Bam. Okay. They call that area anything but Harlem. No, it's still Harlem. It's still Harlem. It's still Harlem. Hold on one second, guys. Let me. Nah, it's definitely still Harlem. It's definitely still Harlem. Alan, our people are behind. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the multiple citizenships. We're gonna talk about all that. Yeah, well, as far as us, our people. In fact, where my passport's at? Here you go. Our people are behind. It's just a lot of our people. I mean, but Alan, you gotta understand, the average Black American, with only like what 2% has passports, and then when you talk about having another passport, is a conspiracy theory to a lot of our people. Is because it becomes a big old conspiracy theory about having more than one passport, where it clearly says in your American passport that they allow dual citizenship. And what's dual citizenship? Anything more, any citizenship more than one. So it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. Any citizenship more, if you have more than one citizenship, doesn't matter the number, you're considered a dual citizen. And it's right here in U.S. passport. We'll get into that in a second. But again, tour Nigeria. Visit Danfo, 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 Danfo .Africa. Again, visit Danfo, Danfo Africa. And then Sierra Leone, November 20th through December 3rd. Citizenship is available to those who qualify. Again, the Sierra Leone passport. Citizenship is available to those who qualify. Again, citizenship is available to those who qualify, and that's going to be November 20th through December 3rd. So if you're interested in joining us, hit me up. Please visit Danfo, Danfo .Africa. Again, Danfo, Danfo Africa. Guys, let me show this to you real quick. I need your honest opinion. Be honest, keep it real. I need your honest opinion on this. All right. So this is the hold on one second. Oh, let me. How's this look, guys? So this is the poster, the flyer, the poster for the movie. I mean the documentary. It's coming out end of this month. No, 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 no. We don't do that. Here we go, bam. So guys, I need your opinion on that. Do I need to add something? Do I need to include anything? Like what do I need to do? So, guys, give me your feedback on that. I'm gonna leave that up. All right. So Zabe, you said 9 out of 10. How can I make it a 10 out of 10? Zabe, how can I make it a 10 out of 10? How can I make it a 10 out of 10? I want this to be a 10 out of 10. A more brighter background. Put another image of your face in there. Will it be too busy if I did all that? It's way too dark. Lighten. Oh, let me write this down. Hold on. Where's my pen at? Hold on. Where's my damn? I'll take some notes myself on my phone. Hold on. Make the colors alive. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me text myself. Shout Greg in the chat room. Let me text myself, y'all. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Make the colors lighten the background only. Okay. All right. So lighten the background. And brighter background and let the people see my face. I kind of like that. How to see my face? Brighter. In Africa Future is a brighter one. Okay. Brighter background. Okay. Yeah, I don't know where I would put my face in the flyer. Like where would I put my face? Okay, so lighten the background. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know where I'll put my face at. Left side of your head. But where? Where would I put the left side of my head? Why? Why I gotta be one of the Tariq Nasheed type video documentaries? It's my own personal. It's my own personal documentary. Like it's my documentary about my journey. It's my documentary about my journey. So people are saying lighten the background, hitting African colors. Yeah, I said hitting African colors. All right, we'll some more feedback, y'all. Then we'll jump into the topic, guys. Make sure you hit that like button again, please. Please hit that like button. Yes, Black Panther. I think it looks good as it is. So when you guys say lighten the background, oh, okay, you just busting my balls. Okay, pause. No homo. Okay. So when you say lighten the background, you mean like the palm trees and the jungle, like make it like the African colors in the background. That'd be too much. So you mean like the trees and the jungle? You're saying the trees and the jungle, like make it actually green and all that? Is that what you're saying, or like what are you saying as far as lighten the background? Can you be more specific when you say lighten the background? Like when you say lighten the background, what do you mean specifically? Some people say like it as it is. You can't see what the objects are in the back. Hold on, let me find a filter color. Okay. All right, so like everything that's supposed to be green, make it green. Is that what you guys are saying? And make it look like it's afternoon or? Uh, okay, I say okay. There you go. You have Africa's the future, but look like it's dying in the background. Got you. Okay. He's giving Black Panthers Killmonger. Am I little Killmonger in this photo? It looks like a nuclear bomb just went off. Okay, there you go. Okay. That says it all. It looks like you say it looks like Terminator 3 Judgment Day, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. When Skynet comes alive, is that what you're saying? When Skynet comes alive? Like when Skynet comes alive? Oh man. All right, y'all. Let me stop the screen. Okay, I got it. Thank you for the feedback, everyone. Thank you for no, dude. It's a mock-up. It's not the real thing. It's a mock-up. Southern Creole Gumbo. Yes, we do have tours to Benin. I'm taking a group for the Voodoo Festival in January. If you're interested in that, go to Danfo, danfo.africa. Click on travel, then click on Benin. So if you're interested in that, let me know. He said it should. It said it should exhibit African culture. What do you mean, Joseph? All right, let's jump into it. Listen, you guys know I'm always on here talking about Joe Biden. You guys know I'm always on here talking about Joe Biden. You guys know I'm always on here talking about Joe Biden. But listen, we gotta give Joe Biden credit where credit is due. He has finally lifted. Hold on, he has finally lifted y'all president Brandon. Yeah, thank you. Hold on, Brandon, y'all's president has finally. He said that picture looks like a journey. You should not change it up. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm having to keep this one, and then the next one I'm gonna say do it where everything's lighting up like green. Everything's green, blue sky. Let me, green, blue sky, green grass, blue sky. You know, afternoon. Okay, got you. Yeah, I got it. I got it. Blue water. I got it. 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 What? Okay. All right, here we go. Let me share the screen real quick. No, I didn't mean to say that. But yeah, so shout out to Joe Biden, y'all. Y'all know I can't stand the guy. Shout out to Kenny King. Thank you. Y'all know I can't stand the guy. Can't stand him. But what's the saying? A broke clock is right twice a day. Is that the saying? Or once a day? That the saying? something like that. So Joe Biden has lifted the mandatory COVID testing to re-enter the country when you're traveling international. Again, he has lifted he has lifted the twice a day. He's lifted the mandatory COVID testing when you're returning back to America, entering back into America. He has lifted it. So thank God. No, it's not a book. It's from my documentary. It's for my documentary that I've done. So, all right, let's jump into this, guys. Let's jump into this. So, shout out to Joe Biden. I got to give credit where credit is due. I got to give credit where, well, I mean, not really, because y'all really don't be traveling internationally anyway. Well, only like 3% of black folks got passports. So it really don't matter.
Get even busier this summer. The Biden administration reportedly ending COVID testing requirements for international travelers coming into the U.S. The rule is expected to expire this Sunday.
And this is one of the last remaining government coronavirus mandates. It comes before what's expected to be the busiest summer travel season in years. More than 70% of Americans say they plan on taking at least one trip.
CBS 46's Adam Murphy live at Hartsfield-Jackson tonight. Adam, explain to us the impact, not just on international travelers, but for everyone moving through the airport.
Well, good evening, Sean. This move means that ticket sales are about to soar this summer, bringing more people to the airport and more money to the city.
I heard it this morning. I was very glad.
Anita Motley and so many other travelers caught wind of the news, which took off Friday morning. The Biden administration decided to lift its requirement that all travelers test negative for COVID before re-entering the United States.
Well, I was happy because it's stressful trying to find across the city a testing site. As a developing country, it's not as easy in the United States where you go to CVS, you do the testing and right there.
The decision comes amid pressure from airlines that viewed the measure as excessive and a policy that discouraged people from traveling.
It is a concern in the back of your head, because I do have a friend that's quarantined overseas for 2 weeks.
The change will take effect this Sunday and be reassessed by the CDC in 90 days.
CDC is going to continue to have that vigilance. They're going to continue to maintain the option to add that back in should it be necessary.
Eliminating the
So listen, so the COVID, how's this going to affect the COVID test racket? I wonder if they're gonna. I wonder if they're still gonna make this mandatory. Like, so when we head to Nigeria in August. So if you don't have the vacation, if you don't have the vacay, the vac, if you don't have it, you got to take a test when you leave America, and then you have to take a test. I think like 3 days, like after 3 days while you're in Nigeria, then another one before you leave. So I wonder how how the other countries are going to respond. So this was a man. Listen, whoever was doing these COVID tests, these companies, whoever was doing these COVID tests, man, it was a come up. They probably will. It's June right now. We don't leave to August, but usually, America sets the standard and leads the way. So if America is doing this, other countries are soon going to follow. Give it a couple weeks. But a lot of these countries, man, these companies were making. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, for example, Ghana. You fly in, we'll say Delta direct from JFK to Accra. I mean, that flight is what, 275 to 300 people times $100. Hold on, let me see here. That's what, 30 racks? 275 times 100, $27,500. Yeah. So you get 27, 30 racks, one flight if you're this company. I mean, you're talking about a company just doing COVID tests. How busy an airport like in Accra is. You're making, because I mean, not only you have Delta, you got British Airways coming in, you got Turkish Airlines, Ethiopian, you got United now, you got all these and then the local flights. You got AWA, who flies throughout West Africa, A Sky, like Air Peace, Eric, I think flies to Accra. I mean, these companies, I'm talking about these COVID testing companies, they're making at least $100K a day. They're making $100K a day. $100K a day. $100K a day. Abundant sunflower. If you leave it, people will notice how real shut is. If we don't stop playing, the green won't be green, the sky won't be blue. Think about it. What you talking about? Yeah. I mean, $100K a day. Probably more than that. That's underestimating. That's under promising. That's setting the expectations lower. $100K a day COVID test at the airport of Accra. I mean, you got Turkish Airlines, maybe Emirates might fly to Accra, Ethiopian, Delta, United, South African was flying there. They still might, but they don't fly there direct from America anymore. You got all the regional flights, AWA, A Sky, Air Peace, Air Rwanda. Yeah, I mean, you talk about over $100K a day. Low expenses. Your expenses are low. I mean, what they're paying those employees to swab you, maybe $200 a month. That's over $6 a day per employee, $7 a day per employee. The test kits are dirt cheap. Get those sent in from China. Man, making making WAP with these tests. Making WAP with these tests. Nah, South Africa stopped the no. So no. South African Airlines is flying direct from DC to Ghana. I took that flight. Delta flies direct from New York to Ghana. And then South Africa stopped that route. So United took over that route. So out of DC now, you can fly direct on United out of DC. You can fly direct to Dakar and Lagos out of DC. And it used to be out of DC, you could fly on South African direct to Dakar, but they stopped that route. You know, South African Airways was about to go bankrupt. If they didn't go bankrupt, they're about to go bankrupt. So let's continue.
COVID testing requirement will likely bring millions of visitors to the States and boost travel spending by billions. Still, not all travelers here in Atlanta think it's a good idea.
I think testing for reentering is very important because we are seeing COVID cases on the rise locally. And with increasing numbers in COVID cases upcoming, it's important that we test people reentering to prevent the spread.
And while there are still health concerns for many travelers, this move will save Georgians a lot of money and others elsewhere. Here's the deal. It can be very costly to get a COVID test in other countries, at least $50 or more in some places. And if you're forced to quarantine overseas, that often is something you have to pay for as well. We're live at the Atlanta airport tonight. Adam Murphy, CBS 46 News.
Yeah, so that's good news. I had someone come on one of my trips and they unfortunately tested positive and they had to quarantine in Sierra Leone. But now you don't have to worry about it no more. Depending on if the other countries enforce it. But it's not mandatory anymore. So listen, shout out to Biden. Shout out to Biden. But Biden had to do something though, because his economy is wrecked. You know, this economy is wrecked. So he had to do something. So listen, you're gonna save about $80 on now I'm not saying go vote for the guy in 2024. I'm just saying we gotta, shout out to Biden. Now, like I said, I'm not saying go vote for the guy in 2024. Don't do that. But listen, he did something right. You know, a clock is right twice a day. A broken clock is right twice a day. He was right. He was right. Guys, hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Oh, let me pull this up real quick. You know, and this is the thing, man. While y'all sitting there in the chat room, while y'all sitting there talking about, man, if you get dual citizenship, you running, man. You ain't fighting back. You ain't fighting back, man. If you don't get citizenship, man. I mean, if you get citizenship to another country, man, you running, man. You ain't fighting back. Man, you ain't fighting back, man. You ain't fighting back, man, in America. I'm a free man. You ain't fighting back in America if you decide to get dual citizenship, man, you ain't fighting back. So for y'all, somebody sent me this article. Here we go. Man, you ain't fighting back, man. You ain't fighting back, man. Yeah. Thank you. How much fighting you got to do? I can't have two. I got two. I got 3 passports. I ain't fighting back. Yeah, I ain't fighting back because I got 3 passports. So let me see. See, it's just white people are always ahead of the game. That's why they're beating us, because we just want to remain ignorant. We want to remain ignorant. Hold on one second. Let me share the screen. Yeah, like how much fighting you want to do? So this lady right here, somebody sent this to me. I got my kids dual citizenship as a mom. I want to make sure they always have access to the best opportunities they can get. But for some reason, freedmen or whatever you guys want to call yourself, you cannot see an existence outside of America. But everybody else, they're living, on a global. They're living in a global now with your cell phone, with passports, with travel. They're living in a global society. Y'all the ones talk about something, man. You ain't fighting back. You ain't fighting back, man. You ain't fighting. See, man, you get more than one passport, you ain't fighting. I'm not slandering. That's what you guys tell me on a daily basis. I got my kids dual citizenship. As a mom, I want to make sure they always have access to the best opportunities they can get. I want to give my children all the opportunities to do what they want as they grow older. I found out I could apply for Polish citizenship since my grandfather was born there. Now, both of my children have dual citizenship with US and EU passports. Long before I had children, I had a wanderlust that brought me to more than 40 countries before I was 25. I spent a few days in some and a few months in others. I saw incredible sights from Angkor Wat in Cambodia to incredible castles across Europe. But see, the people who are telling you that if you get another passport, you ain't fighting back, only 2%, roughly 1 to 2% of them even have a passport. You know, a few of them, a small amount of them have even left their immediate communities, their immediate hoods. But they want to sit here and tell you that if you get another passport, you ain't fighting back. You running. You ain't fighting back. You running. That's what they want to tell you. Meanwhile, everybody is realizing what's going on in America. Guys, I'm gonna get into another story after this. Rent is out of control. See, some of you guys are going to be forced with student debt, the way rent is going up, the way wages are going down. Some of you guys are going to be forced to look at opportunities to live outside of America. But like I said, some of y'all, man, you ain't fighting back, man. You talking about leaving America, man. You ain't fighting back, man. You ain't fighting back. You supposed to fight back, man. You ain't a real freedman. You ain't a real freedman if you get another passport and realize that you can actually exist outside of America. You ain't a real freedman if you do that. Long before I had children, I had a wanderlust that brought me to more than 40 countries before I was 25. I spent a few days, I read that. I had adventures, but I also learned that the way of life I had accepted as the norm in the United States was not a given everywhere. I discovered that almost all Europeans get several weeks of vacation. So guys, let's unpackage this, all right? Let's unpackage what the so-called faux freedmen, because I had a real freedman on here yesterday, brother, and I don't want to pin the groups against each other. They all should be working together. We all should be working together. But when Brother Information Man show came on, he dropped knowledge. He shared with us what was really going on. It's just the rest of these so-called freedmen are just too emotional. So we need more freedmen to rally behind brothers like Information Man, who are articulate, can tell you what's really going on and what's next, who aren't blaming, who don't have a victim mentality, because the majority of these freedmen have a victim mentality. They don't have a victim mentality. He's not blaming immigrants. He's not blaming all these other groups. He's like, look, this is what we're owed. This is what we're doing. This is what we got going on. This is how we're moving forward. This is what we're getting passed as far as legislation. And he's not making excuses. He's not blaming immigrants. He's not telling y'all, man, you running if you get another passport. You running. I discovered that almost all Europeans get several weeks of vacation every year, guaranteed health care, and access to higher education at a minimal cost. Plus, many countries offer subsidies for childcare and extended paid maternity leave. Fear of gun violence was not part of daily life. It was hard not to want that lifestyle for myself, although I never took any serious steps towards moving abroad. The reality of what I was missing hit hard as the years went on. Even with the privilege of family assistance and scholarships, I racked up over $100,000 in student loan debt, despite having a comfortable job with the federal government when my daughter was born with complex medical needs. I found myself having to borrow leave from my generous coworkers. This year, a close friend's daughter was at a nearby school when a gunman opened fire. As my children grew, I often found myself wondering if I could give them the chance to live somewhere that offers different and better opportunities. Dual citizenship with the European Union was my first thought. I started by casually researching the benefits of dual citizenship with a European Union country with a EU passport. My children could live, work, and study throughout the continent, even if they didn't want to move abroad. They would have the option of staying in most of Europe if they like to travel or take an internship that could set them apart. All right, so these are some of the benefits of having multiple passports. So like with my Sierra Leone passport, is ECOWAS. So I have access visa-free to about 14 West African countries, visa-free with my ECOWAS passport. Although my husband's family has deep roots in the United States going back to the American Revolution, my family consists of more recent arrivals past parts of the vast Jewish diaspora. I skip that part. I learned that many employers favor hiring dual citizens because of the flexibility it gives them to conduct business abroad. I also see, guys, there are people who exist beyond the borders of America. You know, they can imagine life outside the borders of America. What tangible? See, guys, this is what I'm talking about right here. This is what I'm talking about. This is the freedmen. What tangible do they get for having their flipbook passport? The lady's literally breaking it down for you, and you still crying. You're still crying. You're still being emotional. That's what I'm talking about. I've learned that many employers favor hiring dual citizens because of the flexibility it gives them to conduct business abroad. I also like the idea of them having strong ties to the countries of their great grandparents and hope that citizenship will spark curiosity and open the door to cultural opportunities. My ancestors scattered across Europe and beyond, often fleeing one oppressor and then another. I started crafting a family tree and researching which of the numerous countries where my ancestors had previously settled would offer their descendants citizenship. I applied for a Polish passport, although there were a few potential options. I settled on applying for citizenship in Poland. My grandfather had lived in Poland before coming to the United States, and I had inherited his nearly 100-year-old passport with this document in hand, proving that I was a descendant from a Polish citizen was relatively easy. I discovered that Poland already considered me the granddaughter of one of their own, a citizen, and I needed to obtain documentation confirming my citizenship rather than applying outright. Once I became a Polish citizenship, my children's citizenship was easily confirmed. We ate pidgeries to celebrate when the year-long process came to an end. While it's still too soon to tell if they will choose to stay in the United States, which undeniably has much to offer, or choose a different route, I am thrilled that they will have access to opportunities that were not available to me. What was just a daydream for me can be a reality for them. Bam, there we go. There you go. There we go. There we go. Yeah, imagine Trey Hampton being the leader of this freedmen group. He will embarrass y'all. Y'all wouldn't get anything done. Y'all wouldn't get nothing passed, nothing done. Y'all would get laughed out of the room. Laughed at. So yeah. So there we go. There was something else we needed to discuss too. Hold on, there was something else. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about. Hold on one second, guys. There's one more thing. Oh, NYC. So you had the Freeman brother who came on yesterday and was talking about how I guess they're, that's the new like carrot that they dangle in front of, I guess, poor. I don't want to say poor. What's the correct term I want to use? I don't want to say poor. I don't want to say less fortunate. That the carrot they want to dangle in front of people when it comes to not being able to afford the rising rents is we're gonna stop, we're gonna implement rent control or whatever the brother was talking about yesterday. How these politicians, Democratic politicians, are coming out saying, "Hey man, we're gonna stop these rising rents. We're gonna stop the rise in rents and all that other stuff." They're not gonna be able to. They're not gonna be able to. Case in point. Hold on one second. Case in point. This is what's going on in New York right now. Guys, hit the like button, please. This is what's going on in New York right now.
Bronx to Brooklyn. Across New York City, rents are taking no prisoners.
Are they considering that we are at a certain income level? Although they're raising the rates, when we first signed, we were at a certain income rate. So I just think that that's unfair.
Sanita lives in a rent-stabilized building and is one of many New Yorkers facing a rent hike. Today, the Rent Stabilization Association, representing 25,000 landlords, is asking the city council to approve a rent increase.
4.5% to 6.5% for 1 year and 7% to 9% for a 2-year lease.
Would that hurt you if rent went up by 6 to 9%?
Definitely. My raise may be 2%, 2.5%. Everything is going up. Gas is going up. Car insurance.
Vito Signorelli, vice president of the Rent Stabilization Association, explains property taxes, maintenance, labor costs, water rates have all gone through the roof. And now the owners of these buildings say they're struggling to maintain their buildings. Adding renters need to look to the city for help and not their landlords.
It's not the responsibility of this board to take into consideration financial issues of income insecure tenants. We believe that the state legislature, the city council, they should be enacting subsidy programs to help tenants offset these rent increases.
The real estate firm Serhant reports Manhattan rents are up 38%, and concessions are a thing of the past.
Hey, welcome.
Real estate agent Talia McKinney doesn't see the market.
You just said something. Here we go. And I was going to ask the same question. Like, if you're in New York right now and you're dealing with this, why don't you want to leave New York? Like, why don't you want to leave New York? Like somebody said, leave New York. And I'm thinking to myself, there's like, why not just leave New York? That's the part I don't understand. Why not just leave New York? I was in LA. Real estate was expensive, was high. I came to Atlanta. I left. I dipped. I don't understand that. Like, just leave, move. That's the part I don't understand. Like, if you're in New York right now and you're dealing with this, why not just leave New York? Yeah, go to Jersey. Go upstate. I'll probably go to Jersey. Or go upstate. Or even just DMV area. I know some people say I don't know why I'm stuck on Baltimore, but I think Baltimore is a hidden gem, even though you still got to hide your wife, hide your kids in some part of Baltimore. But you can always make money in NYC. But if the rents keep going up and you always complaining about the rent increase, what's the point? Because New York is my aboriginal homeland. Okay, all right. There's no place like New York. You know what? I would say this. Listen, so if you're in Harlem, Boa Bob, the Senegalese restaurant in Harlem, is off the chain. Boa Bob, the Senegalese restaurant in Harlem, off I think that's Malcolm X, and I forgot the cross street. Off the chain. I love some Boa Bob. Boa Bob is off the chain. Boa Bob is delicious. Boa Bob is delicious. So if you're ever in Harlem, go to Boa Bob. That's probably the best African food that you can get. The best African food you could get in America that I've had. The best African food that I've had in America, Boa Bob. Oh, Keisha, you're talking about Sylvia's. I think Sylvia's closed down, I think. You're talking about Sylvia's. Sylvia's closed down, but there's a vegan, hold on, there's a vegan spot in Harlem. Hold on. Vegetarian spot that's pretty good. Hold on. There's a vegetarian restaurant I used to go to when I was in I used to always go to Harlem. That's pretty good. Hold on one second. Seasoned vegan. Seasoned vegan. Seasoned vegan is pretty good. I like seasoned vegan. The only thing that upset me about seasoned vegan, hopefully they brought back the fries. So their barbecue sauce. Did you hear about the 100-mile border raid rule? I have not. The thing about seasoned vegan that kind of disappointed me was they had whatchamacallit. They got this barbecue sauce that they put on like their barbecue. It's like a chopped chicken, quotation marks, burger. And that barbecue sauce they use is off the ground. It's off the chain. I'm tripping. It's off the chain. Again, it's off the chain. It's delicious. And so you can put that barbecue sauce on everything. Oh, Sylvia's is still in Harlem? I thought it shut down. Not bad, but I'll go to Boa Bob and seasoned vegan. But anyways, I used to use the sauce, put it on my fries, but then they got rid of the fries. So I didn't have nothing to dip the sauce in. I didn't have nothing to dip into the sauce. Yeah, I didn't have anything to dip into the sauce when they got rid of the fries. But that was back in 2019 before COVID. Maybe they brought it back. Let's see here. Here we go. It was the barbecue. Listen, y'all, if you're in here we go right here. Listen. If you're in Harlem, go to Seasoned Vegan and get the barbecue crawfish sandwich. The barbecue crawfish sandwich. I don't know if y'all can see that. Hold on, let me do this. Go to Seasoned Vegan and get the barbecue crawfish sandwich. Will change your life. Barbecue crawfish sandwich, Seasoned Vegan. Go try that. I wonder if they got the fries back. They kind of disappointed me when they didn't have the fries. Menu size, yeah, they don't have the fries anymore. Man, that sauce was delicious. The rent is crazy. The crime is crazy. Yeah, they don't have the fries anymore. It's not on the menu. They have the mac and cheese, rice, sauteed broccoli, sweet potato souffle, sauteed spinach. They got to bring the fries back, man, because, man, that was so good. That's the only reason why I stopped going. That's the only reason why I stopped going. But I haven't been to Harlem like overnight in a minute because usually now I just fly in Sierra Leone to Guinea will pop in 10 years. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Here we go. Here's the problem right here. Bam. Don't want to deal with reality. But you got to stay and fight. You got to stay and fight because if you don't, You running? Yeah, I gotta go kick it in Harlem for like a weekend. Just go up there and just kick it. And just kick it. Let me go back to this article. Let me go back to this news story. Hold on one second.
Market slowing down, but as people move around, more inventory coming on the market will help ease prices.
They're looking to stay in their apartments, but a lot of these COVID leases, they're expiring. So a lot of people are finding that they can't afford to stay where they signed a lease during COVID. So it's pushing a lot of people out.
In fact, she says bidding wars are hitting the rental market.
I've never seen the market like this, especially with rentals.
Take 708 Washington Street, for example.
This place is beautiful. It's in a great location. It's a 2-bed, 1-bath. It's for $9,500 a month. In 2016, it was on the market for $6,000 a month. So you just see that prices have risen and people are willing to pay for it.
Tonight, a nail-biting evening for renters as the Rent Guidelines Board is expected to take a vote an hour from now. Landlords are watching closely, too, as the pandemic changed housing affordability for everyone. This vote tonight could lead to the highest rent hikes for these stabilized apartments in more than 20 years. CBS 2's Alice Gaynor spoke with landlords and tenants.
The pipes are no good. It's dripping constantly.
Vincia Barber shows us her Crown Heights Brooklyn apartment. She wonders why she'd have to pay a cent more for a place that's falling apart.
You can tell all the years of constant patchwork here.
The Rent Guidelines Board is taking a preliminary vote Thursday night on proposed rent increases for rent-stabilized apartments. For a 1-year lease, 2.7 to 4.5%, and 4.3 to 9% on 2-year leases. The numbers are based off staff reports that found the price index of operating costs for buildings with rent-stabilized apartments increased 4.2% this year.
Inflation is skyrocketing month by month. We have a water board now that is proposing a near 5% rate increase effective July 1.
Vito Signorelli is with the Rent Stabilization Association, representing 25,000 owners and managers.
So during the 8 years of the de Blasio administration, there were 3 rent freezes, which was unprecedented.
No one likes to pass along rent increases.
Property owner Chris Athenaeus in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn says he just wants a fair increase.
Property owners really suffered during COVID. We had a lot of vacancies, a lot of people who skipped out of their apartments, didn't pay the rent. We were not compensated for that. We've given our existing tenants rent breaks for the last year or two.
Although the rent relief program was out there, that only covered anywhere between 12 and 15 months of back-owed rent.
But the Legal Aid Society is calling for an outright freeze, saying tenants across New York City are still reeling financially from the pandemic, noting a lack of affordable housing. Vincia Barber worries for herself and her neighbors.
These people that can't afford the rent that they have already, it's going to go up. It's going to be a big pandemic of homeless in New York if that happens.
Tonight's meeting is virtual. You can watch online or phone in. A final vote will be next month. In Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, Alice Gaynor, CBS 2 News.
Yeah, so that's what's going on. That's what's going on. Listen, lines are going to be open. Lines are going to be open. Links in the chat room. If you want to call in, add to the conversation, go ahead and call in and add to the conversation. Miriam, thank you for that news. So they could raid your house if it's 100 miles from the border. Wow, that's crazy. Well, okay. $1,100. Anything but, listen, rent, anything below $1,500 right now. Oh, here comes Trey. Go ahead, Trey. $1,100.
Wait, let me mute myself.
Rent, anything below $1,500 out the background.
Yeah, you're right. My fault. Yeah, man. Like, I was just seeing people in the chat, man. Like, you already know, I'm all for like Africa connection, the whole nine. Not knocking none of that. I respect all that. That's really real. But I just want it to be equal with the energy that, like, the naysayers that people hit FBA with for trying to, like, we're moving to the Southeast in numbers, moving to Mississippi, moving to Georgia. I just want y'all to keep the same respect. Like, when we ask questions like, what are the tangibles you get from this dual citizenship? Like, all I'm hearing is like vague opportunities and access to regions. I'm wondering, like, what direct tangible benefit do they gain?
Don't worry about it. Trey, don't worry about it, bro.
I just mean, like, I'm just asking a question.
Trey, don't worry about it, Trey. We've given tangibles over
I'm
and
saying
over and
just
over.
name them. Name them.
We keep asking the same question. Trey, don't worry about it. Trey.
But nobody's answering.
No, we've been answered it. I read
Bro,
a whole
you can do it
article.
right now.
I've discussed. I'm not going through Trey. Your mind is made up. You're gonna fight.
I'm just
here.
asking. I'm waiting for it.
No, Trey. You're gonna fight here. Your mind is made up. Do it here, brother. Good luck. Because I'm a benefit.
So
Whatever
you're not
you
gonna
get,
answer?
listen, whatever you get, I'm a benefit from regardless. So hey,
That's
man,
cool. I'm not knocking.
Wish you well.
I'm just asking like an honest question, and I can't. And nobody's answering.
Trey, you sat here in the chats when we discussed the benefits of dual citizenship a million times.
No, I really haven't. I swear I have not done that. I promise.
Like you just said, is vague access to reading.
Yeah, like what does that mean? If Biden told you that, you would be clowning FBA. If Biden said like, "Hey, you guys will have opportunity to do something, and you will have access to a new region," you'd be like, "This is all vague, blah blah blah." Just you call it checking the box,
bro. Listen, brother, I'm gonna give you the best. This is the best advice I can give you. Listen, man, stay here in America, continue to fight. You got it, brother. Good luck.
So you're not gonna answer.
I hope you win, brother. Hope you win. All right, go ahead, Alan.
Hey, basically, yeah, I wanted to answer to that, brother, because the fact is,
do you want to deal with Trey today? I don't have the patience today. Like this man's not. He's being willfully ignorant. Like I'll let you talk to him. I'm not gonna say anything. But if you want to talk to him, you can talk to him. It's up to you.
All right, I'll talk to him.
Okay. All right, Trey. Alan's gonna talk to you. I'm just gonna mute myself.
Trey. Here's the deal. If you look around, man, you see white people, you see other people from all of the nationalities now thinking about going ahead getting dual citizenship because for simply tax reasons. Many people, right? There's a number of benefits from having options. There's a famous YouTuber out there who says, "Go where you're treated best," right? And going where you're treated best would include, not dealing with a country that's going in the wrong direction, who's mistreated your people historically, who've done things like that. So what you benefit from it is you have options, both financially, culturally, and a lot of different options financially. If America doesn't have the financial, you don't receive the financial benefits of being in this country, especially for Black people, we being the bottom of this society. What is the point of staying if all of a sudden rents are ridiculous? That's basically some of the things that you benefit from getting, having a dual citizenship. And if white people can see that, if people like what's that guy who went up there and was with Facebook, Alberto Severin and all those people, if they can see the benefit of having dual citizenship, where they can go ahead and make their money work better for them, I don't see why Black people have to be behind simply because we want to, stay where your ancestors were born. There's better opportunities out there for you, especially given the economic situations that we have today. What do you say to that?
What I say to that is, like, you started off by saying, like, if white people can see the benefit, and I know we're in a world where it takes money to make money, and they have like 25 times the wealth of our households on average. So you're talking about probably well-to-do white people that have business opportunities that the average foundation like American isn't going to have. So that makes more sense for them to go over there. That's just one thing. And then when you started talking about the benefits and everything, it's still like turns into go over there and just basically hustle and hope you make something shake. And I'm saying right now, with our wealth, where we're at right now, so that's like Americans with our wealth, it would almost be, you'd be better off just moving from New York to like Mississippi and then community farming and just pulling ourselves together like right there in a place where we understand, where we can get jobs, where we can work together with our own culture. And then the land is way cheaper and you don't have to go all the way like across somewhere where you don't know, link with people you don't know and face the same nepotism and the same Africa got 27 U.S. military bases, 13 French military bases. It's like, it's not just like some Wakanda that people make it out to be. And then if we need money to make money, and then where we have 25 times our wealth, so you're even talking about the ones better off within the white society. So it's not really a fair comparison, and it would be cheaper and make more sense from and for people that vibe from a vibrational level to move to Mississippi or to move to like Tennessee as a black person if you're in California, if you're in New York and you can't afford it. And then start community farming and stuff.
Listen, Alan, I'm gonna let you respond. Alan.
Why do you
Alan,
why
this guy is full of excuses, but so you go ahead and respond.
My question is why is it that you assume that white people have all this money and that the white people I'm talking about strictly have money? Yes, a lot of those people who have money are moving across, but if you have white people who have money or you have black people who have money going across, that means there's opportunities over there to go get, and that you could be a benefactor of that, and you can get in on the ground floor.
Alan, if I can interject, literally, I'm watching videos of white people with multiple citizenships talking about, yeah, I'm over here, I'm living off of just $2,000 a month, I'm living like a king. So
Correct.
But go ahead, Alan. Go ahead.
Correct. And that's what I was going to say. There's multiple ways that you could make it with the inflation.
But that same thing can be done in Mississippi.
Mississippi has
you can't live off of $2,000 a month anymore in Mississippi. You can't, Trey. You can't. Those days are over.
Mississippi has a historical.
You can't live. Hold on one second. You can't live anywhere in America for $2,000 a month. And if you find somewhere where you can live in America for $2,000 a month, why would you even want to be there? There'd be no resources, nothing would be there. But go ahead.
Yeah, we're not talking about moving to Youngstown or someplace like that, and even there. But you know, you need to look at the fact that people. I don't know who's talking. Anyway, you need to look at the fact that you have multiple opportunities overseas that you could benefit from. You know, and even if you don't want to move, why wouldn't you just want to take advantage of the opportunity to be someplace different? Or
but honestly, that's not really selling a foundational Black American though, like opportunity and somewhere different.
We're not trying to sell you, brother. That's why.
I just mean like pointing to some white people and saying they can move somewhere. What does that do for a Black person in America? They have 25 times our wealth.
Hold on.
But what does 25 times have your wealth have to do?
Alan, hold on, Alan. Let me just. We're gonna move on.
Okay.
Good luck to here in America. Be Black in America. Do your thing, brother. Do your thing. We're rooting for you. All right. Go ahead, Elijah. Cisse.
That was funny.
Go ahead. Cisse, go ahead.
Yeah. What's up, man? This is my first time.
Yeah. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah. Probably the guy doesn't understand like having a dual citizenship, what that can do for you. For instance, like somebody like you. If you want to open a business, you are as equal as somebody who born and raised in Sierra Leone or Nigeria. You don't have to pay anything. But somebody who's doing business there, I mean, you are required to pay certain amount of money, and it will require you to have a local partner. But being a citizen, you don't have to do any of that. Probably he doesn't understand, I mean, what the differences. Secondly, if you are a Black American, you go to Africa, you don't need to be a millionaire or even 100,000. You don't need to have that to have a business where you can ship it here. I mean, Dynasty, you need to understand some of these people, it's good for them to want to stay here. If you people like you and Black American who think like you, we join together, we can be trading partner. They can be in America. That's fine. I don't have anything against them thinking they will stay in America. That's fine. We don't have to fight over that. Let them stay. But one thing I don't like, coming to the forum and then try to be distraction, creating more conflict, creating more hatred, among us. We don't want none of that. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
Okay. So, I see some of them, the way they come in, they will try to hate other group or, accusing people of something. We don't have to go there. The people who has a mindset, let's work together. We can build a corporation or a company that can bring things here to Black people and then they can dominate in America. Instead of a European coming to Africa, controlling those resources, I mean, Black America can control that, some part of it. If you see the reason why Black America, they left behind because Black America don't do international trade. International trade, that's where the money is. These people don't know. Latin America, anything come from Latin America, it go through the Spanish American before it go to the public. Anything come from Asia, many part of that money come through in the hands of a Asian American. That's why Asian Americans are defeating Black America economically. These are some of the reasons. Some of the Black Americans who are like-minded, I mean, I know many of them don't have money, but if we can pull together, I mean, for instance, if we want to have a coffee in America, Ethiopia produce coffee, Uganda, Kenya, all those places. If we organize enough, we can have a coffee shop here where anything come from Africa, it go in the hands of a Black America first. This is my view, and this is how I see it.
Oh, cool. Go, Abundant Sunflower. Go ahead. Abundant Sunflower. Go ahead.
Hi, Dynast.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Peace and Black power to everyone.
Peace.
So, I wanted to say, so I grew up in Harlem. I got my first apartment at 21. It was like cheap, like $600. Then,
How long ago was this? What year was this? What year
that
was this?
was, I believe, 94.
Oh God, oh yeah. Go ahead.
So, as time, it was in like a bad neighborhood. As time went by, I moved to the Bronx, and it was a bigger place, and the apartment was better, but it still had the hood elements. So eventually, I moved to different places in the Bronx, like better neighborhoods, but it still had that hood element to it, where you coming home from work and you got the Hispanic pookies barbecuing on the block. So I'm like, you know what? Let me move to Jersey. It's quiet, it's clean, and the rent is reasonable. Basically, like if you pay $2,000 for a 2-bedroom in New York, $2,000 in Jersey, you'll have manicured lawn, just a cleaner, safer environment. So a lot of people from New York that I know moved to Jersey actually. But what you're promoting as far as moving to Africa or even having dual citizenship, it's a good idea because I speak to my friend every day who lives in Nigeria. His rent is only $300 for the year.
For the year.
The
For the
whole
year.
year, yes. So it's like, if you could have a business plan and try to maybe do business even 6 months of the year living in Africa, that sounds like a good deal. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I got a where in Jersey are you?
I'm in Hackensack, so I'm right across the bridge.
Oh, right across the bridge. Okay, so you're by what, Jersey City? Because ain't Jersey City across the bridge too?
Well, probably the Lincoln Tunnel. Jersey City is more or less Lincoln Tunnel. So yeah,
Okay.
it's still across the bridge. But
Yeah, I just don't understand the number one, the infatuation with New York. I mean, New York is nice, but it's too crowded, overpriced, the crime, and then you got these people who my thing is like, why? Like you left, you say, you know what, it's too much, I'm leaving. You got like here, like New York, LA, people pay these amounts of rent, this large amount of rent, and then refuse to even leave. Where you say, hey, you can move somewhere else and get something cheaper. Nah, man, I'm staying right here, man. I'm just like, okay, all right.
I think people stay because of the convenience. Like, basically, you have transportation, you have cabs, like you just can wave your hand. get a cab. You have trains, buses that run 24 hours.
I
So
mean,
I think it's
you got Uber now.
that's true. That's true. I don't know. I think it's convenience. I think it's like basically you're gonna see people all the time, and some people like honestly, I'm bored to death in Jersey. It's really nothing to do. Whereas New York, you more or less see more people, more it's more of a community in New York. It's a whole lot, probably more people. Whereas you have to have a strong mindset, like, oh, okay, I'm just coming, going, doing what I have to do, sticking to my own plans. Whereas if you're in a city, you're going to just interact with people all the time. And that's what I think another reason why people don't want to give that up. So I think it's the interaction.
Okay. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, guys, that's 3,000. That's $300 for the year, depending. I know, Falajiki, rest in peace. He had like a 3-bedroom apartment in Oshogbo. He's paying like $700 for the year. I mean, it was cool. I mean, it was cool. I mean, it was cool. It was $700 for the year. 3-bedroom apartment in Oshogbo. It was comfortable. The light will go out sometime, but but outside of that, I mean, it was cool. No, just get you a generator. But yeah, it was like $700 for the year in Oshogbo.
Yeah, I think it's something for people to consider. Like, even if you're gonna do business, think of your business plan, what you want to do, and you just have that option. You may want to get away from the city or wherever you're living for a few months. You have somewhere you can just chill, make your connections, and go back and forth. So I think it's a good option to have.
I absolutely believe that's a good option to have. I think one thing that people don't consider is that how dangerous this country is going to become for Black people as the economy gets worse, as these ideologies start becoming more pervasive. I think we're going to get more Buffalo shootings. I know that area of Buffalo really well because I grew up in upstate New York. That if that's going to happen places like there, I can't imagine what could happen to Black people en masse in large areas where we gather, where people don't particularly care for us. I think people need to have other options, and what the problem is that people will realize they need these options too late, and it'll be hard for them to get passports. It'll be harder for them to get out of situations that they're already in. And so you need to start building and making connections now so you can have those options later. And that goes for everybody, not just Black people. There are white people out there saying the exact same thing to white Americans, and they're giving pushback. People calling Andrew Henderson disgusting and all this other stuff like that. It's Americans are very well indoctrinated into thinking that America is the only thing that exists.
Alan, let me ask you this: how did that happen?
Oh, it's Hollywood and propaganda, and the world, and they taught the world through media that America is the only thing that exists. And if you don't leave America and you don't actually get to know people, not just leave and go to the resort, but actually leave and go meet people, you'll come away feeling the same way, that the only place that does things right is the United States. We're taught it in schools, we're taught it in television, we're taught it in the movies, and it permeates everybody, Black, white, everybody. We all believe the same thing. It just isn't true. There are other places, and you might be able to live a better life and a life that you would feel more comfortable living someplace else, whether that be Africa.
It's not a good might. More than likely, you will. Not saying it's for everyone, but I wouldn't recommend moving to Accra, Ghana, because it's expensive as hell.
Right.
And I think a lot of that has been an issue. Like, a lot of us, we go straight to Accra because that's all we know. A lot of people, that's all we know. The Accra is expensive. Like, it's expensive. I mean, it's a beautiful place, but it's expensive. Maybe go to Cape Coast. Maybe go to Kumasi. Right. That might be better off. So
we live in a country where we can question whether or not we were born in the wrong bodies, but we can't question whether or not we're born in the wrong country. And so, that's just where we are in this world where, it is even fathomable to some people that you talk to even leave the United States. And America is the only place where you can find people who will brag that they've never left the United States.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
No, I just find that amazing. I've always found that amazing. You go ahead.
African always, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Dynast. I'm in New York. Been here since '85. I've been fortunate to have multiple properties. In fact, one of the biggest challenges we have in trying to help people or inspire people. I remember one particular property I had that I was selling it. So I went to the tenant. It's a 3-unit property, and at that time I think it was, I don't know, something like 500. That property today would probably be about 800 or 900. But I said to the tenant, I said, look, you've been a good tenant, you pay. The rent you're paying, between you and the other units, you'll be certainly able to afford the apartment, the building itself. And they refused to buy the building. I actually sold it to an African, to a Nigerian, actually. And with him, I said exactly the same thing, but he understood the value. Now, so I'm looking at this. So he probably gained about 300K in terms of assets, or in this case, equity. The big challenge we face, and you see this every single city, the concept of ownership is not something that is taught early. So I remember you saying, Dynast, that you bought your property in Atlanta, and you probably couldn't afford that property now based on today's crazy price.
Even with the money I was making in corporate America, I wouldn't be able to afford it.
Exactly. So,
and then if, like, what I would be able to afford, like a 2-bedroom condo somewhere.
Yeah, you're not going to want that.
Yeah.
I've got some family members in Atlanta, and my big push to them was, this was quite a few years back, buy them as much as you can. And fortunately, most of them listened. A couple didn't listen, but most of them listened. And today, Atlanta's market, because a house back then, when you looked at, say, a 5-bedroom house back then, we're talking about, say, 1995, it was something.
Not even that. Probably not even that.
I mean, no, we're talking about some really nice neighborhoods. The top of the line, not the regular house. A regular house you could get like for one something.
Right.
And so I said to them, look, go ahead and buy. Go ahead. And fortunately, like I said, some of them did, some didn't. In the Black community, the big challenge we face is strategic planning. How the heck do we plan? Because when I looked at Harlem, I saw properties in Harlem. This is back in the 90s.
Were good. African hours. Tell me how much the nice 3-bedroom. 3-story brownstones with the stoop. How much were they going for in the 90s?
Oh my gosh! Well, I'm gonna give you an even better one. My aunt had one of those, and I told her, I said, "Look, you don't need the money. Leave the damn thing alone. You have family, you have kids." She didn't listen. She sold it at that time for, I think, $395, $400. That same building today is about 1.9. 1.9. So, but opportunities. So when we talk about opportunities, it's about anticipating or projecting what is going to be in 5 years or 10 years, right? My father told me very early on that, when you can get your hands on land, you make sure you buy it, because they're not making any more of that. The big challenge I saw coming in Harlem was, and I knew it was going to price out our people, because we love to rent. Even when there's so many people I've spoken to over the years who were renting, and I'm like, dude, why are you renting? If you buy
do you sorry to cut you off. Do you remember who was the guy, Eric Garner, the guy that got choked to death for selling movies? So they
Lucy's.
received so yeah, the family received like a $2 million settlement. You know what they decided to do?
What?
Stay in the projects.
Oh my God! You know,
I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. They decided to stay in the projects. They decided to stay in the project, and one of the reasons why, because I guess the rent was still cheap. So they decided, like the wife was like, "We just go." They staying in the projects. Like I was baffled by that.
Wow.
Yeah. Swear to God.
I don't understand. Can someone please help me, because I can't help myself. I don't understand. When in Harlem, when you could buy a building, a nice 3-floor unit, a building for, I'm going to say, $450. There were a lot of black folk in those buildings that could afford them, that could actually afford the building, but they refused to buy. Now, when gentrification starts, the people who benefit are people like myself who actually buy and watch the equity build up. Why is it, I don't know, can somebody please tell me, why is it that people are afraid to go into good debt as opposed to bad debt, like a damn car? I have in my garage right now 2 cars that are, let's see, one is 2003, one is 2008, right? Luxury cars, but 2003, 2008. I could easily go out and get myself a brand new shiny car with a name brand tag on it. But that's money that should be used for investment. Why is it that I don't know? I mean, the challenge I find is because I talk to a lot of people. One guy told me the reason he's not buying is because every month he's going to be on the hook for a mortgage. Every month he's going to be on the hook for a mortgage.
And I guess so. I guess recently they actually the wife actually moved into her dream home. So yeah, but go ahead.
What I'm trying to figure out here is why is it so difficult for our community, even when we're being, like I said, when I sold that unit, I went to the tenant on the first floor. Now remember, there are 2 other units, so combined income and the rent that they're currently paying, they could easily afford the building. And within a year, because now they'd have 800,000, they could take 300,000 equity out of it and put down on another building. So, and you just repeat the process every few years. Why is it so difficult for people to understand that?
African always. I think it's basically not being financially educated. Also living above your means. I know too many people, including myself, like for many years, trying to live above your means. So when it's time to look at your bank account, your finances, your assets, yeah, you got money coming in, but you don't got nothing saved up. So I think that's the biggest problem, that a lot of African Americans live above their means. That's the biggest problem. Like you said, the shiny cars, renting, shopping, buying this, buying that, including myself. I'm guilty of doing that for so many years.
I am too.
You know what I mean? And then you look, I would look at my, not to be stereotypical or anything, but I had, Jamaican friends that they would buy like the cheapest clothes, but they owned homes and they had money in their bank account. Whereas I was making all this money and I'm buying expensive clothes, going to the mall, renting, blah, 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 and have nothing to show for it year after year. So I think that is the biggest problem, living above your means and not being financially educated.
Let me ask you, okay. You said you left New York City sometime back. What year was that?
About 7 years ago, I left New York.
New York City.
Yeah.
And you moved to Hackensack, which is not too far. Route 4, I guess. Not too
Yeah.
far from here. Now, what qualitative difference did you see other than the actual home you live in that might be a little nicer? Were you able to save more money? What was the financial benefit from moving out there?
So basically, yeah, I think you get to save more because you're not looking to buy things. I think when you're more content with your home, you're not looking for outside things. Your home is nice. It's like it's more of a peace of mind. So now you're not using things to, you know, fill up that void. You kind of more relaxed. You can sit home and think about your money and write down everything. I think also another thing about probably living in these big cities that you just go, and you don't really have time to reflect. I also lived in Virginia for 2 years, and my rent was $600 for 2 bedrooms. That was in 2003. And I wasn't even making a lot of money back then, but I was able to pay all my bills and I was content. I was in a nice place in the suburb. I lived down the road from the mayor's office, so you can eat off the ground. It just so happened to be a low income complex in that area. And what I noticed, no, I didn't have a lot of shopping money and stuff like that I was used to. I was content. I had a nice home. My son was in school. He was in one of the best school districts, in Chesapeake. And I was content. I was able to sit down and write my bills and, see what I'm spending. So I think it's a mindset, definitely.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that honest answer because I think you gave probably one of the most honest answer in terms of exactly the conditions. Dynast, one of the big challenges that the community faces, as I said, is we're not strategic thinkers. We don't think long term.
Right.
When I came to this country, I came here in '85. There were 2 highest priority on my list, which is to go back to school and get another degree in computers. That's the first big priority for me. The second priority was to get married and have a house, buy a house. The first house that we bought, at that time, I think it was like 200,000.
Okay.
We had barely enough to make the down payment, but by God, we were going to buy that house. We were going to save. We were going to buy the crappy shoes, the crappy dress, whatever it is that we're going to do. We were going to do that till we get that house because we knew one thing. Once we get into that house, day one, it will start to build equity. Financial literacy, I think, which is what Abundance Sunflowers talked about, is something that is not talked about in the community. When you see this, even when we have businesses and when we get money, the first thing we do is go buy a car. And the reason we do that is because we want to tell the world that we have arrived. And one way to tell the world
I was guilty. When I was in corporate America, when I got my first big bonus check in 2000, this was 2010. I got my first big bonus check. I went and bought a Porsche.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to live vicariously through you because, to be honest with you, I can't afford a Porsche. I could.
But okay, let me back up. I bought a used Porsche.
Even a used Porsche. I don't think you know why I couldn't afford
a used.
No, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. But but we're laughing. But think about this for a second. Here it is. I just gave you a little glimpse in my world, not just a little glimpse, and I'm still telling you I can't afford a Porsche. And a lot of people say, "What do you mean?" Because I remember telling my nephew bought a brand new BMW M series, so those are not.
Hey, BMWs can't stand.
Right, but it's an M series, so you're going to pay through your nose for that. And he looked at me and I said to him, how can you afford this? And he said, well, you can afford this. And I said, no, I can't. And he was insisting that I could afford it. So then when I started to break it down, and I said, every time you drive in your car into the shop to get it fixed, and I drive mine in, I walk out with a lot more money in my pocket, and you walk out with a lot less. So buying the car up front was the first part, but the maintenance of the car is going to run you. The insurance is going to be through the roof, and it's all depreciating. But in our community, one way we tell people we're successful is by what they see. And I know a number of people. By the way, you don't see this on the news. You'll never see these people on the news, the people I'm about to mention, but they exist, and there are quite a few of them. And these are what I would call black, middle, or upper class, some people would say, based on the income. But there are a lot of people who are doing the right thing, but they're not visible.
Right.
All my friends fall into that category because they all have multiple buildings. Some of them in the New York area, and as you can imagine, everything in New York is expensive. But you would never see them on the news, and they don't wear the flashiest stuff, and they don't drive the flashiest car. For some reason, they focus on building assets, and you're able to pass on. You have a child that's getting married, you could say, look, here's a house, start life. And that's a huge win when you can give somebody like that, or say to them, go to graduate from school and there's no student loan debt. We have to somehow reach the audience to tell them that you can't follow the rapper, because when he gets his first check, he's going to buy or lease a Lamborghini, a Maybach, or a Mercedes Benz, right? He hasn't factored in taxes yet. He's just, he's gotten his first $500,000 check, and he's going to go out and he's going to buy these things because he wants to tell the rap community and the community at large that he is now successful. So the things in our community that tells us that we're successful are things that are transient. None of them are permanent. Because if you own Dynast, a home that's worth $5 million, someone see you on the street won't know that.
Right.
If you have investments that's worth millions, someone see you on the street is not going to know that. But if somebody sees you in a brand new Ferrari, they're going to think, hey, this guy's got something going for him.
Right.
Right. So those are the things that are pushing us to make these decisions. Right. And the fear of commitment. When we talk about debt, we talk about debt as if every debt is bad. Debt that is an investment is a good thing. In fact, you want a lot of debt, but productive debt, meaning the debt is working for you, generating more money. That means if you buy a house and you put down, let's say 10%, you're using 10% of that money to leverage 10 times that much money. That is a powerful thing. That's what Wall Street does. And the home ownership is the simplest version of that, right? Where you take a small amount of money and tie up a lot of money. That's called leveraging, right? So if you can leverage, that is to say, use a small amount of money as low as 10%. And if you're a first-time home buyer, by the way, you can put down as little as 5% or 2.5%.
3.5, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea that people, what they're scared of is this big number. Somebody says you owe 200,000 or you owe 500,000. They're scared of that. But what they're not factoring is that $200,000 house or that $400,000 house that they're buying now, in 10 years is going to be worth, 50% more. So even if you just want to keep the house for 10 years, right, you will have the equity build up for 10 years. That's serious money, right? So it's something that's not taught in the community, but it is a critical piece of what we need in the community to be able to move forward. And I'll say one final thing with respect to the dual passports, dual citizenship. Right. It's always a good thing to have multiple citizenship. I do. My kids who are born here all do. it's a fact that you want dual citizenship. And because you never know what is what, right? In the country where you have the other citizenship, it means that you can go there and you can purchase land. Instead of, in some cases, you can only get like a leasehold, meaning that you can get it for 90 years or something like that,
Right,
99
right,
years,
right.
But because you are a citizen of Sierra Leone, you can now go in and buy property. Freehold. And that's important because that means that your son and his son's sons or daughters, kids, that's his land if you pass it on to him, right? So that's a critical piece. So the idea of dual citizenship is a good thing. The United States allows it, and I think anyone who has the opportunity to take advantage of it should take advantage of it, right? That to me is a critical piece. So coupled with the invest for the future, use a small amount of money and leverage and getting dual citizenship. Those two, I wholeheartedly say we as a community need to do that and stop focusing on trying to prove to everybody else that you're successful, right? You don't have to prove to anyone. I go to functions and people there drive much nicer cars than me. I don't care because that's not what makes me, that doesn't determine my value, right? So that to me is a big thing. And Atlanta, oh man, you can't buy anything there now.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, but let me ask you this: the salaries down in Atlanta, what are they like now? I mean, because I don't think the salaries are matching the salaries.
I don't know. I've been working for myself, but I mean, nationwide, the trend is, I mean, the salaries aren't improving to the point where, they're meeting the people are able to rent and buy homes. I mean, they're not going up that much. They've even gone up at all.
So are we going to have a permanent rental class?
That's the plan. You'll own nothing and be happy.
Seriously? I mean,
yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, you own nothing to be happy. That's what the the big banks. Not the big banks, but what's these groups? I mean, what's this investment group? You got Vanguard, or what's the other big one? There, the majority of this real estate is being purchased by these large corporations, and they want to make permanent renters. Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. So, okay. For those who are complaining that America, they're priced out of America, that's not true. They're not priced out of America. I think you talked about Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, but who wants to move to Gary, Indiana?
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this though. That's true. That's true. But let me say this to you. There was a place in New York. It's called East New York. It was like Gary, Indiana. It was down on its luck. It was gone. When I say gone, I mean gone.
I'm sorry, Black Rock. That's it, Black Rock.
Black Rock, yes. That's
Blackstone. Is it Blackstone or Black Rock? Black something, but go ahead.
Black Rock is the thing, their firm. It's the hedge fund.
Black Rock. Yeah, Black Rock. They're buying up everything.
Yes. Yeah. So but let me say this. There's a place called East New York. And I remember when East New York was for the dogs, so to speak. It was gone. I mean, when I say gone, I mean it was totally gone. And I remember trying to encourage a friend of mine to buy 6 or 7 of those. They're homes, but they really were lots, if you ask me. He didn't buy it, obviously, at that time. I was too young, didn't have enough money, and was still in school. Well, today, had he bought those, he would be a multimillionaire multiple times over. Now, let's talk about Gary, Indiana for a little bit here a second. Gary, Indiana is in bad shape. It's like Camden, New Jersey was 10 years ago. But I guarantee you, in 20 years, whatever you could have bought in Gary is going to be higher value. In other words,
I think the only last, really, I mean, Gary, I think Baltimore is like the only last affordable, somewhat metropolitan where you have access to amenities, because Gary ain't nothing in Gary.
No, I get that. I get it. Okay, look, it's like Detroit. Remember when Detroit went to its nightmare days where we were knocking down buildings because it was just there, and so but you know what happened? So outsiders came in and bought up the plots, those lots, And you know what they're going to do? They're going to sit on that lot because it's an undeveloped lot, so you don't pay that much in taxes, right? So they're going to sit on that lot for 5 or 10 years. But at some point, somebody will come up with some plan where that is going to be making money. So let me rephrase it. Making money, you make money when you buy, when you're going in. You don't make money when you sell. You make money when you're going in. In other words, you look for the best or strategic deal. So if you go to a place and you buy, like, okay, downtown Brooklyn.
Is East New York, is that Brooklyn?
Yes, East New York is Brooklyn.
Brooklyn is nice.
East New York back in the day, it was just crackhead and a lot of rundown buildings back in the day.
Right, Brooklyn is nice now.
Listen, Bedford-Stuyvesant, which is a really bad neighborhood back in the 80s. Remember when crack used to be the thing in New York?
Right.
My wife used to work at there's a hospital close to Bedford-Stuyvesant, and let me tell you something. You saw it was horrible, but the thing is that what they do is they let these cities run to the ground, then they start the gentrification process. When you let it run to the ground, you run out a certain audience of people, because a lot of people left Bedford-Stuyvesant, left those areas, and a lot of African Americans were renting those places. So I would say probably 70% of the homes in Bedford-Stuyvesant were rental properties. That is, people like myself would buy 1 or 2 units, and then we were absentee landlord. We would rent it out, and there is a cycle in terms of how real estate goes in America. When it gets too high, you let it run all the way down, and then you buy back and build all the way back up again. So Bedford-Stuyvesant back in the 80s was a really bad neighborhood. I mean, you could get seriously hurt walking down there at 7 p.m., right? Today, a unit in Bedford-Stuyvesant, a house in Bedford-Stuyvesant, not an apartment, but a house, which there are not that many of, but a house is going to run you over $1 million because it got re-gentrified. But guys, we cannot buy when it's gentrified. We cannot buy when everybody else sees it as climbing up. We have to look for the needle in the haystack before it starts to become gentrified. And buy.
Hey, African always. Where's the So last time I was in Brooklyn, this is 2019. I stayed at this black-owned bed and breakfast. But okay, so in correlation to when the Brooklyn Nets play, where's Bedford-Stuyvesant?
Okay, so that's downtown Brooklyn at Atlantic Center. Right. Bedford-Stuyvesant is about, I'm gonna say, 3/4 of a mile from there. Heading back up. Yeah. So it's very close.
Okay.
But here's the deal. This is what I'm saying. Those houses were selling for cheap. You could, in the 80s, you could have buy one of those houses, houses for $120,000. But people didn't understand. People did not understand that at some point it's going to be re-gentrified. There's a cycle here, guys.
Yeah, that's the name of it. Aquaba. That's where I stayed. There's a bed and breakfast. It's called Aquaba.
Aquaba. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about very, very that whole area. So the Barclays Center, it was it by itself tripled your. If you had a unit there or a building there, the Barclays Center showing up alone tripled the value of your building. Triple the value of your building. So if you had a building, and let's say you bought it for $200,000, right? Because you could buy a multi-unit, you could buy like a 4-family unit for $200,000.
Right.
That building today is over $1 million, right? What I'm trying to get to is strategic thinking. It's the same way, Dennis, when you talk about investing in Africa now, because the majority of people who are going to invest in Africa are going to come when everything is high.
Right.
When the deals are gone, right? When you just talked about Accra. Everything in Accra is going to be expensive.
It already is.
Right. But by American standards, it might not be But by African standards, it's
no. By American standards, Accra is expensive.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. So,
Yes,
but the point is, but the Freetown, you can still get good deals.
Good deals.
Very good deals, right? One of what we have to do is look for the value ahead of everybody else, because if you wait until everybody, when the consensus is that a particular neighborhood or a particular city is going up in value, by that point you're going to be priced out.
Hey, we got a abundant sunflower. Go ahead.
I wanted to say another big, huge problem is that African Americans don't stick together. For example, if you have siblings, like I have a good job, my sister has a good job working in a hospital. There's no way, there's no reason that we can't pool our money together and buy a building. However, you have people maybe in your family or whatever, they don't basically respect you as a person. They see you as a family member and not as a person. Meaning, okay, I have this amount, you have that amount. This is business, even though we're family. This is business. We're going to buy this building together. You have your children, I have my children. You tell your children the rules, the house rules. I tell my children, let's build together. Let's see it as business. I personally don't even know anyone who has bought property with their family members. That's another big problem, because you see a lot of other cultures who do that. They buy their first home is with family members or as a group. So this is why it's very stagnated as far as us buying, because nobody wants to stick together.
That is a sad story. But let me ask a simple question. It's a very good idea that you just brought up here, which is buying together. So there's obviously buying the building itself. But you can have what we call secondary agreements. That is to say, okay, so on the deed, all of your names would be on it. But in terms on the mortgage, all of your names will be on the mortgage. And what you can have is a sub agreement that says, in the event of there's a problem where one refuses to pay and the other one decides to pay, that you will recoup this money when the time comes to sell the building. Because you might find where you start off great and then things go sour, right? But you can put agreements together, simple agreements that is enforceable. That is to say, once it's sold, right? So for example, let's say you and your family member buys the building and you have this building and you've been paying for, both of you been paying for, let's say 5 years. All of a sudden they lose their job and then they refuse to pay. But you don't want to lose the building, so you start to pay the whole thing, right? There are agreements you put in place. Simple agreements. It doesn't even need a fancy lawyer. Just some kid at a law school should be able to put an agreement like that together, where you are protected. Good friends make good neighbors, right? So good agreements make good family relationships. So it's just that people don't understand that the American legal system is such that you can do these things. Even in these outside families, these families from other cultures where you could see 2 or 3 generations. By the way, that's the fastest way to own a home. When you have 2 or 3 generations living there, you get free childcare, right? But in our community, I find, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Dynas can tell me if I'm wrong, I find that the need to show that you have accomplished something is far more important than the need to own something.
Yes.
In other words, that car payment is $500 plus insurance is probably another $200-300 a month plus whatever else, right? That's $700 a month on a depreciating asset, as opposed to a used car, or should I say pre-owned these days, pre-owned car, where you have no debt on the car, right? And you pay $200 for insurance, and you take that $500 and put towards the mortgage, and 2 or 3 of you do it, easily you could afford that building. And when that building moves from, let's say, 500 to 800,000, that 300,000 is now for both of you. So each of you now have 150K equity that you can then use to go put down on a property for yourself.
That's a good idea.
Keep the original property. Don't get rid of it. It's making money for you, but you can take equity out of that. Use that equity to buy 2 units now. So now between the 2 people, they have 3 units, 3 individual buildings. But again, the big challenge I see is that people take their money and they spend it the wrong way.
Oh yeah.
That to me is the biggest challenge. I mean, Dynast, is that, I mean, the people you know.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Right. So that to me is the biggest challenge. The need to explain to people that you have arrived. Why we have to, I don't know. But that need. And by the way, you see it. So a guy wins the lottery, and the first thing he does is goes out and he buys this this fancy car, and I don't know. I mean, maybe because we've been deprived for so long that we have this urge to show the other person or other family members that we have. And that is also part of the reason why we don't help each other get jobs. In other words, I'm on a job, I know there's an opening. I don't call my friend and say, look, I know you're qualified.
African Irish. So when I was African always. So when I was in LA and I was kind of in between jobs, I knew I had friends that were working in pharmaceutical sales. I would run into, sisters who were doing sales of pharmaceutical sales. And I would just ask them like, hey, are there any openings? And they would just kind of like, no, ain't no openings. Or just go to the website and check. And I finally got my job at my company. Number one, the first thing I realized is if you want one of these sales jobs, you got to go through a headhunter.
Mm-hmm.
But then even once I got hired, like the white folks, they would come on, they would bring their people on. Absolutely. They would say to the manager, hey, I got my friend, he's an awesome guy, man. He's awesome. Bring him in, interview him, get him hired. And I would just say to myself, why weren't they doing that for me? They were just telling me hey, we're not hiring, or just go on the website. And it really bothered me because when I noticed about these sales jobs, like if you go on the website and apply for them, you're not gonna get them. You get them through headhunters or through people that already work in the company.
Absolutely. What you just said here?
And that just bothered me. Like I was like, well, you could at least just, because like me, there's several people. In fact, one guy who's always on my show. I reached out to him like, listen, I got this job, Centos. It's a great opportunity. It's a great job. You should check it out. He said, yeah, I'm interested. He gave me his resume. I called the location, which was out of state.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Dynast Amir, I work at this location. I do sales. Say, I got a candidate for you. Okay, tell him to come to the office. It was that easy. Now,
that easy.
It was every time. It was that easy. Hey, I got a candidate for you. He's an awesome guy. Oh, tell him to come to the office. That easy.
Yeah.
That easy.
Abundant Sunflower, you were going to say?
Oh, so I was going to say, what about this? This is the craziest flip side of that. So I'm a teacher in a public school.
Mm-hmm.
And I have friends asking me, oh, are they hiring for a para job, which is a teacher assistant? They would ask me, are they hiring? Are they hiring? So finally, I'm like, let me just nominate these people. Let me talk to my principal and nominate all the people that have ever asked me. I nominated 6 people. I gave all the names, birthday, address, all the information to my principal. Do you know only one of them actually started the process? And the one person that started it had like a criminal record that, it was closed, but they had to get the documentation for it. And for that job, you had a deadline. So she had missed the timeline. But everybody else did not apply. And I'm like, I'm sitting here asking my principal, giving her your information, this and that, which my principal wasn't that that free as far as, oh yeah, we just giving jobs away. It was a big deal for me to even ask her. And these people did not apply. I was so upset.
You know, so you gave the flip side of what Dinus talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, but I got a story too. I had a
Yeah.
frat brother. Got him a job. They got an offer. They gave him an offer. Failed his drug test. And it was just like, it was on that, oops, my bad. I forgot I had smoked weed. I didn't know how to take a test.
Oh
I'm like,
God.
bro, come on, man.
What that tells me, honestly, what that tells me is two things. One, listen, my wife is a social scientist, so this is her world. She understands these kind of issues way more than I do, but what from my limited,
You mean she understands the pathology?
absolutely. And she uses those words, pathology, and a whole bunch of other ones that describe the condition of the Black community and the trauma they've been through, because they've gone through a trauma and almost like PTSD. But one of the, so it comes to expectation, because what both of you described is really expectation on one. When Dynast asked for the job, or asked to be Dynast, I can confirm, wholeheartedly confirm, that when I was in the position to hire, I used to fight with some of my people, because I would say to them, are you telling me that none of my people are qualified to do some of these jobs? Because they would never bring me any resume. And you know who brings me all the resumes? The other folk.
Mm-hmm.
And they would talk up the people, and sometimes you interview them and you realize these people don't know how to do the job.
Listen, some of the most unimpressive people got the job just because of their friend who worked in the company. And these people
Absolutely.
get hired and they wouldn't perform. Unimpressive. It's just like,
yes, but they got the job. They got the job. And the key here is that they got the job. The other part of it though is expectation. What is expected? If you're asking somebody to get you a job, you have to put yourself in that headspace to know, look, I mean, Dennis, that person who who failed the drug test, did they ever have a job before?
here and there, little odd jobs, not a career. Never had a career.
So that person, okay, so from their experience, from their modus operandi, we know that they are not what do you call it? It's not all there in terms of having their act together, right? It's just somebody who you oftentimes it's friends or family that you know, and you want to help out a situation, so you say, let me bring, because you're absolutely right. Most of the jobs, most of the people who I hired were recommended by people internally.
All right.
By the time the job, we still have to post the job, right? Officially, to make it legal, right? But most of the time, the jobs were already booked. The people internally, whether a friend, a family, a cousin, whoever it is, would have gone out and brought their friends in and brought the resume in. So we still had to do some interviews for people who come through the normal external channel. But the reality is that most of the time, the job itself is going to be gone, and there is no way, that outsider is going to get the job over somebody who comes highly recommended.
Right.
And if they're
after now, it was so embarrassing, because like after my boss said, yeah, I'm gonna make an offer to your to your frat brother, we're gonna bring him on. I remember like 2 days later coming to the office, and my boss was like, yeah, your frat brother, he failed his drug test. And I was just like, oh God. So I called my boy, and he was just like, "Oh, my bad, man. I forgot I had smoked weed. I didn't know they was gonna," just a bunch of excuses. And I was just like, "All right, man."
Fortunately, knock on wood, that has never happened to me, but I've heard of it so in many cases where somebody, you carry the water for them, so to speak. You go, you say, "Hey, listen, this person is a good person," and then they fail. I've seen it. Has never happened to me personally, but I've seen it happen to a number of people. I want to ask the audience: has it ever happened to you where you recommended somebody for a job and they went through the initial process and do the oops that Dennis talked about, where they failed some aspect of the test because something that they should have known that was going to come and they weren't prepared for it? Because that it's much more common than we would want to accept or to believe, that this is something that is a rarity. It's not a rarity. It happens quite a bit. And a significant part of that is, in the community, is some kind of a police record, right? Where if it's not a drug test, it's a police record. And people don't realize that that police record that they have is going to be is going to come back to haunt them. And by the way, that is why in the community, when in some communities they wouldn't arrest some kids. Dynast, when the school my daughter went to, some of the kids would steal a car. The police would catch the kids stealing the car, call up their parents and say, "Hey, your boy's down here. Come get him." And that's how it's handled. In the community, in our community, they get a record. Now, a felony record means you can't work on if you have a felony record in America, it means that a significant amount of jobs, you are not going to be able to even apply for the jobs. You're not going to be able to apply for most federal jobs because it requires you to not have a felony record. You're not going to be able to apply for most government jobs across the board. You're not going to be able to. But in the finance field, in schools, there's a lot of jobs that you're not going to be. So when these kids are racking up these felony records at a young age, a teenager, they are setting themselves up for a lifetime of second tier access. They're not going to be able to apply, as I think Abundance Sunflower mentioned. They're not going to be able to, and it typically happens for most of these young people. It happens, I'm going to say, between the age of 16 and 22. That the most dangerous years for African American, especially young boys, is the age of 16 to 22, because it's the time in which they'll be classified as adults. It's the time in which they look the most intimidating for the boys, right? So therefore, it's the time in which they're going to rack up these unfortunate records that are going to come back and haunt them. That is the challenge we face in the community. That also, Dynast, ties into being able to get certain government. I don't believe if you have a felony record, you can get a FHA loan.
Really?
I don't believe. Is it FHA or VA loan?
Well, VA is military. So
yeah, but if you were in the military and you go out and rack up say for example, you came out of the military and you get a felony. Somebody could correct me. Somebody who's in the military.
Well, yeah, I'm not in the military. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know if like if you get, I don't know, discharged or whatever. I don't know. Somebody in the military who's in the chat, if you want to call in and answer that question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I know there's an aspect where somebody in the military, there was some aspect of that, but I don't know exactly the thing. I don't want to categorically say a particular thing, but that age, 16 to 22, is the most dangerous time for African American, and it's most dangerous time for African American male youth, because it is the time when they get a lot of these stupid records that you ask them when they get to 30, why did you do that thing at 22? I don't know. Why did you do this? I don't know. They can't explain to you why they pick up the records. So, if you have kids and they're hitting that age, whatever you have to do to lock him down, please, you got to lock him down for that. Just let him get past 22. When beyond 22, they start to think a little bit better. Probably still stupid, but a little bit better. But 16 to 22 is when they get in the most trouble, because that's when they have enough sense to be able to go act on their own, but not enough sense to realize the dangers that come with it. So at 22, Dynast, when you were 16, did you think that you were smarter than your parents?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, you're the exception, because every little teenager I meet think they're the smartest, and they think they're adults when you talk to them.
they do now, but thanks to social media.
Right. But Abundant Sunflower, would you say that age group that I'm using is the most dangerous time?
Yeah, because I have a son, and my son actually was an honor roll student his whole, since his whole, school history, he was honor roll. And when he turned, I guess, 17, he started doing stupid things. Like, first of all, you're the only child. You didn't need to steal something out of 7-Eleven when you could have just told me to transfer you money. So they do a lot of stupid things. And, and I used to always tell him, like, never get a record, never do anything where you're going to get a record. Now he has, in Jersey, they feel like they just have to give you some. They're not going to let you go scot-free. So he had a marijuana charge, but the lawyer was basically got him down to, the lawyer was nice, basically, or helpful, whereas they got the charge down to jaywalking and soliciting CDs. So that's the lowest charge, criminal charge in Jersey. So instead of him having a drug charge, he has a bogus charge that actually comes up when he applied for jobs, which is jaywalking and soliciting CDs.
So he has to explain what the jaywalking is, which is thank God. Thank God.
Walking across the street, not at the light, basically.
But fortunately, okay. So, but you had to fork out thousands to.
What? Every time he got arrested for a bag of weed, it was $780 that I had to pay.
So, but you had the means to pay.
Thank God.
What happens to the mother who doesn't have the means to pay?
Unless, the judge is nice and throws it out, they may have to do time, like for a bag of weed. I don't know, like for sure. I doubt if New York, if he would have got arrested for a bag of weed, even before it became legal, I don't think he would have even had a charge or anything.
One thing I learned from my daughter when she went to school, the school she went to wasn't a HBCU, but a regular school. And the richest kids that don't look like us smoke the most weed, the most pot, the most everything, and they never got into trouble. Even campus police almost never stopped them. But the one African American kid with his one little joint gets stopped. That's what's happening.
Like even out here, the cops was chasing my son and his friends. Basically, they're after school going to a park to smoke. They would chase them. I told my son, listen, smoke at home. And mind you, I'm not one of those cool mothers that, oh, I'm your friend. I would rather you smoke in your room than the cops chasing you.
You're not being a foolish mom. You're being a wise mom, because you're.
Yeah, I was like, smoke in the house. Just smoke in your room. I don't care. Like, you're going to smoke regardless.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you did there was you did a calculation. You looked at it and said, look, the risks to him in his room is that the room is smelly of this thing. The risk stream outside is potential interaction with the law.
Yes.
So you're not. One of the challenges that people who are not parents don't understand this. But Dennis, you have a son, and
Right.
you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that your son gets protected, right?
Right.
Even if you have to fight him, I mean, when he thinks he gets to a certain age and he thinks he can talk to you anyway, you may have to grab him by the shirt and say, "Look, I'm still your dad. You're not going to talk to me a certain way." The point is, you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that you give him the best option in life going forward. And what Abundant Sunflower is talking about here in the community is a form of discipline that the family don't understand. If families don't understand, you have to, especially in today's day and age, the name of the game is to protect your child. By all means, protect your child first and give them a fighting chance. So no one is condoning smoking. And by the way, African American kids are the least in terms of smoking. They smoke a way lot less, and they take a way lot less drugs than other communities.
Right.
That's a fact, right? That's a fact. If you've worked in school, it's a fact that our kids, the records don't indicate it because we get stopped. Our kids get stopped a lot more. But it is not about the fact that if you tell your kid you can't smoke in my house, you can't smoke in my house. What you're basically, no one wants your kid to smoke. That's the first order of business. But as a parent, you have to evaluate what happens if I tell my son or daughter they can't do this in my home and they go outside and then have to tangle with the legal system. Right? Because the name of the game is to carry them through to a point where they have enough sense, where they can go on their own and thrive. Right? That's the name of the game. So you don't want your kid at the age of 25 to have, a incident report with the police, whatever that may be. You'd rather that just be blank, right? They search and there's nothing for you, no explanation needed when you apply for a job. That is the name of the game, which is to get your kid all the way past 16. And as she said, her son was 17. And I chose that age group because that is when I see a lot of kids go nuts from really decent homes. These are not dynasties and Abundant Sunflower. These are not kids from bad homes.
Mm-hmm.
These are two-parent homes. Not just single mom, two-parent homes where husband and wife are both working, decent job. One's a nurse, one might be a fireman or something like that, and they have their kids start to go crazy. Their kids start to go crazy at that age group, and what you have to do is try to shepherd them between 16 and 22. Right?
African always is so true. Like, honestly, I'm the only one out of my siblings that graduated college, and I was the responsible one, and I spoiled my child and gave him everything, blah blah blah. And my son, no lie, is, I won't say doing the worst, but he messed up in 12th grade and he's just never been the same. Whereas my sisters, who they didn't care about stress and education, this and that, their kids graduated high school, went to college, one went to the military, and my son is just kind of like lost really right now. And one of my friends told me, like, even kids who are spoiled, it's like another form of trauma. And my son even told me when he started getting in trouble, he was like he was blaming everybody for his issues. Because besides the marijuana, he experimented with pills when he went to this concert or whatever with his friends. And so he blamed all the friends, like, oh, they set me up. But so he went through a lot of stuff mentally, stuff like that. And he was saying to me that he wished he had a harder life because he would be able to make better decisions. Like basically blaming me for spoiling him.
Can I ask, Abundance, people were asking in the chat, was his dad around?
His dad was around. As far as when we moved here, he was 14, so he wasn't seeing his dad as often. But his dad was around like his whole life. But his dad was one of those guys that I had to tell the dad what to do, like, or I would kind of limit certain things because I felt like his dad was kind of ignorant. So he was around as far as physically. He would take him to his games and take him to the doctor, stuff like that. But he wasn't the kind of man that's like, listen, it's going to be what I say. Like his father never challenged me, as a man, like, listen, I know what to do with my son. It was always me, like, listen, this is what you need to do with your son. So honestly, my own son out of his own mouth said to me, my dad wasn't there. He was just visiting. Like he didn't see him as somebody who raised him. And I was surprised because he had always been there physically. But then I understood, like, yeah, he was there, but he didn't take on a role as a man, like giving him rules, guidelines. If something happened, he would come to the house and tell him, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, this and that. But kids are not stupid. They see exactly how it is. No matter how much we sugarcoat it, he said out his own mouth, he wasn't there. He just used to come visit. And I'm like, wow, because I'm thinking your dad is there. He's taking you here. He's taking you there. But if you're not raising your child, like really giving him rules, guidelines, following up, being proactive, then really you're not there. Even if you're sitting next to them at a game or you watching their game, these kids know exactly what's going on. And so now my son is 23. He doesn't even visit his dad, and his dad is sick. And it's like, I'm not forcing you because you're grown. You can go visit him on your own. So his dad's mother feels like, oh, you keeping him from his father. He's grown. He can go visit his father. He know how to travel, whatever.
He lives in your house
Whatever
too?
that relationship is going to be what it is.
Does he live in your house?
My son, yeah.
And what do you mean you can't tell him to go visit him? It's your house.
I can make him go visit his father, but I'm kind of giving him the choice. Like, listen, he needs to know that my dad is sick. Let me go see him. He needs to feel that. I shouldn't be forcing you.
Unfortunately, let me say this. I don't know your situation, so what I say to you with a grain of salt. But structure is more important than kindness. Structure is more important than kindness. I wish most parents would understand structure is more important than kindness, because with structure comes the ability to make decisions, to understand the do's and don'ts. Those are far more powerful tools than kindness. Even now, I would say to you, if you don't take any advice from a stranger, but here I'm going to give you one anyway. You're in my house. You're 22, so he's still pretty young. I mean, he's a kid. It's a child. You're gonna go visit your father. That's one of the conditions for you staying here. Let me tell you something. The nicer you are to them, the worse they turn out. Structure is more important than kindness. Let me repeat one more time. Structure is more important than kindness. Oftentimes, I think you said earlier that you had family members who weren't as necessarily kind to their child and as generous to their child. But what those kids had was probably structure, which in our community looks like it's tough. But to be honest with you, that is what they need. When you're young, structure is what you need, because it is the first thing the structure does is that it tells the participant, or the one whose the structure is being imposed on, that the other party cares. Because if they didn't care, they wouldn't give you a structure, right?
Right.
And I think your child is saying the same thing. Mom, you gave me all of these, but or my dad gave me all of these, but where was the structure? Because he's now craving structure. He's not craving structure. but there's still hope because he is still pretty young. He is still pretty young. The question for you now is this: how do you take back the reins? Because time has passed, right? He's now 22, and you're telling me that you're not willing to take back the structure because you're saying he's an adult. He's still a damn kid. He's 22.
No, I know that he doesn't make he doesn't make many decisions by himself. I'm usually guiding him. But I don't know, for some reason, when it comes to his dad, which I don't even understand why he doesn't care about going to see him. He told me first, he said, I don't like you making me going to see, you trying to make me go see him. Then he goes, come with me. I'm like, you could go by yourself.
Okay.
I'm trying to separate from that family because I was always the extra nice one to them. So I'm like, listen, like when his father's mom would get mad, she would call me like, oh, like, let me speak to my grandchild. I don't want nothing to do with you. So now I feel like, you know what, deal with your family. I have nothing to do with them.
Okay, so it's very complicated what you're saying. Well, two things. As I said, I don't know your circumstances, and none of us know. And you taking advice from somebody online that you've never met is not the best.
I don't mind. I do take advice from strangers.
Yeah, it's just African always. It's interesting because, man, when I turned 18, I was I remember after my state track meet, that next day I was on the next flight to UGA, University of Georgia. I was gone. Like I couldn't wait to get the hell out the house. Like staying in the house.
You know why?
18 years old.
You know why? Structure. Structure. You see, when you're young, you want to get away from structure. But guess what? By the time you reach 18, they gave you enough structure that even when you got out of the house and ran to the university, the structure followed you. Because I guarantee you, when you were there in the university, you remembered some of the things your parents said.
Yeah.
So the structure followed you.
That's true.
You may have ran.
He was probably more independent, at 18, Dynast.
Okay. Yeah, man. When I was 18, boy, like I was out. University of Georgia, I was gone.
I left my parents' house at 17. I graduated high school and I got myself a job because structure, the structure that they had, it didn't help that they were in the countryside and I wanted to go to this big city. But I can tell you this: when I was a teenager in the big city, and I was gone for a year, 2, 3 years, every day I would hear my mom's saying in the back of my head. And every time I was going to do something, I would say, what would my mom think? Structure, because I still remember the structure. It brought me through those turbulent years where I could have gone off. There was one incident where I won't bore you guys with the detail, but I happened to be a pilot and I could have gotten myself into serious trouble. And it was because I know that any money I would have made out of that, I could not buy my mom a soda out of it. So that kept me out of trouble. Structure is what I still remembered. And I'm saying to you now, he's 22. So you're still in a position you're not going to make decisions for him. But what you have to do is you have to put him in a situation where the thing you want him to do is this option for him. And then he will figure it out. You don't have to necessarily tell him to do everything, but what you basically do is you block off the other areas and he's going to go where you kind of want him to go because that's the next thing. I would have a conversation with him and ask, okay, at some point you hope to be a dad, a parent. When you have a son or a daughter at your age, what will they think of you? And what would you have done different from your father for the situation not to repeat? And I would sit down with him and I would look in his face and I would have him sit there and tell him the answer to it. And he's going to probably say, I don't know. And I say, no, because you're experiencing that right now. Tell me what that means from that perspective. That's what I would do with him, because I don't think he's thinking the process through. And you can't wash your hands of it because you're still his mom. And he has decisions to make because he is just starting life, right? Did he graduate college? If he didn't graduate college, it's time to go
No.
back. Okay, I went back to college at 26. Had a family as well, so he could do it. It's only 4 years, and he come out with a college degree. That's no excuse. When my sister got pregnant at 19, my mom says all you did was make your life a little bit tougher, but you're still gonna go to college. What the heck you think? You're gonna get away because you got pregnant? No, you're still going to school.
You know, let me tell you. Let me
And
tell
then
you
after
what
you go,
happened.
and then after you go abundance, I'm gonna pass it to Missy Barr. But go ahead.
Okay. So, all right, about 6 months ago, he actually went to a shelter, right? They have recommend one in the next town. So he actually went because he was saying, I'm gonna get my own apartment or whatever. So I'm like, okay, like, yeah, let's do that. Let's see how it goes. So he went to the shelter, right? And I noticed he started really maturing. Like he would go by the curfew. So I told him, probably being a mom and coddling him or whatever, I'm like, you can go to the shelter, sleep at night, and just come here during the day where it's clean, you got food, blah blah blah, and you just go there by curfew. So I was kind of encouraging him to come home, be in your room, relax, eat, and then go back. So he was doing that for a while. Then he got to a point where he like, I don't feel like traveling back and forth. I'm just gonna stay here. So he actually was staying in the shelter, following the rules, making curfew, everything. And then like 30 days or 40 days, they told him he can't stay there anymore because there's a 30-day limit. Even though they had connected him with housing and he was going through that process, it was basically like, you can't stay here right now, even though you're going through the process. I'm like, that's so unfair because here he is trying to get on his feet or trying to be independent. And they're saying, oh, there's a 30-day limit for you to get an apartment. If not, you got to go. So basically, he has to come back home. And I noticed even my friends was like, wow, I can't believe that he's really being independent. He's doing things on his own. He's making his own decisions. He's being a man. And basically, the system said there's a 30-day cap. So it's like we're starting all over. It's either we're going to look for like a low income housing. And I even encourage him to go back to the shelter. And he's like, no, like, I don't want to go back there. So I'm like, as a mom, it's frustrating, because you definitely want to be a guide for your child and you want them to be independent, but it's like, it's a two-way street.
Hey, go ahead,
Missy Barr.
Missy Barr. Go ahead, Missy Barr.
You're muted.
Hey guys, all of you are doing well.
Hello.
How are you, my sister?
Good, and you, my
Always
sister.
Africa, everybody. I pray that you're all doing well, everybody in the chat.
Yes, we are. Thank you.
This is a very important conversation. And I think we can see how detrimental this country is for us as a people, My sister, I want you to take this advice. This advice that I'm about to give you is not for you, but eventually it's going to be for you. But it's for your son. I'm going to tell you what my father told me. So I was married to an Igbo man, right? So at some point, this country gets us all screwed up, even for those of us that just show up here yesterday. But the person that I was married to, hands down, a very good guy, right? He taught me how to drive. He did the best that he could. But eventually, I think the relationship just fizzled out. We were done with it. We're not fighting. There was no argument. So, till today, right? But my son is 23, just like your son, and he lives with his dad. But when our relationship was about to end, one of the best advice that my father, who married to 4 wives, gave me was never to say a single word against his father to him, right? In fact, after my husband and I, after we were separated, I was still going to his job to pick up his check for him. So He has a job. When it's time for him to get paid, I will go to his job to go and pick up his check. Mind you, I'm not spending the money. I'm just keeping it for him until he can pick it up. Because I think as of that time, if I'm not mistaken, it's either he has a second job or he's about to go to school. But though he wants us to come back together, I am one that when I'm done with something, I don't like to drag what I think I don't want to carry heaviness and hatred. You understand what I mean? Life happens, and
Yes.
we all keep moving. Anyway, the best advice my dad gave me. So I told my dad, I said, so what am I going to do now? Because the relationship is done. In fact, we're already done with the relationship, but we're still living together because we're about to have a son. He's doing his. In fact, you will never know that we're done with it.
Yes.
You will never know. Only I sat down and told my dad and said, my husband and I were going to basically separate it. But I don't want to ever voice it out. He's not voicing it out. Nobody's saying anything. Both of us, he's paying the rent, he's paying the bills. So you see, I can't say anything bad about him like that, right?
Yes.
As far as man and woman, we're done. And I think we as Black people, we need to come together at some point. Just because you're not sleeping together anymore doesn't mean it needs to be over like that. What both of us decided to do is to say, this precious child, what can we do to make sure that it can be well-rounded? Luckily, my dad showed up, right? My dad did something that I think he didn't even do with us, his 14 children. He decided, he said, listen, I will do you one better. Since you and your husband decided to go your separate ways, right? You will not talk bad about this man. This guy is working hard. He's
Miss
paying-
if I can interject, I'm gonna tell you what the problem. I'm gonna tell you what the problem is now. See, you keep mentioning your dad. Your dad was involved. Your dad was involved. These days, the grandparents, they're not getting involved at all.
But
That's
that's
the
what we
problem.
have to do, though.
That's true.
That's what. Listen, for those that are interested, I'm telling you this. The first 4 years of my son's life, I went. So when the relationship was about to end, my dad said, so what do you want to do? Just to push my dad aside, to keep him quiet, I said, I want to be a truck driver. Mind you, what I didn't tell my dad was I couldn't even drive at night by that time because I'm scared that the truck driver, when you know how the truck driver drive and they get close behind you, I get panic. I could no longer drive at night by that time. But here I am, my dad was asking me a question. Just to have him to shut up, I said, oh, I want to be a truck driver. So he said, what are you waiting for? Now, you see, I said, so who is going to take care of my child? My dad said, oh, don't worry about it. I'll take care of him. My dad took over. Allow my husband to go and do what he needs to do. Allows me to go out and become a truck driver. I'm telling you, the first time I got in the truck, I was shaking. I thought I was going to kill somebody. And I was so pissed because why would you want me to go and be a truck driver? I'm trying to get you to be quiet. My dad was so, if you say you want to become a, what can I say, a mountain climber, someone, my dad would say, go ahead. You understand? What my dad did two things for me. He gave me a backbone, number one. He allows me to heal, number two. I was able to go to places in this country that I think I will never have get the opportunity to go. My dad took over and started taking care of my son from 2 years old until my son was almost 5 years old. When my dad came to California to visit us, he just came to visit. He didn't have any intention to become a stay-home grandfather, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what my dad did? Not only was my dad now gave me another advice. He said, if you know that you're no longer going to have this relationship anymore because I am a Muslim, so that there are things we can do as a Muslim that can just take care of that. He said, go ahead and fast and pray and just deal with it and just make a prayer and say you don't want him in your heart anymore. All those things that I did, because I believe that my father is saying it is going to work, I promise you that it worked. Okay, fast forward 2013. I want to come. My dad moved to Maryland because my dad says he can't live in California where he can't see black people. He hates California. He cannot. He said, why are you? Mind you, he came here in the 60s. But the idea that you want to be among Mexicans and white folks only, my dad cannot understand it. He said, let me go to Washington. And the way he always says, let me go and be among my people, right?
Yes.
So my dad moved to Washington, D.C. From Washington, D.C., my dad came to Baltimore. Do you know my dad, the young man that was killed, Gray, I forgot his first name, my dad lived across from him like that. Not only that, my dad moved in Baltimore, my dad lives within his own people, as he always called it, right? Okay. 2013, I decided to move to Maryland because now I want to be close to my dad. Beyond that, I think there is a calling that I'm beginning to get, and I think that thing will be best achieved if I'm closer to my own kind. So I told my son, I said, you need to go. My intention was for him to live with my sister. But something told me to draw back, and I said, you need to live with your dad. By this time, he already married. He himself already married, right? He has 2 children. It was a difficult challenge. My son has been going with his dad, so they see each other. That's not a problem, you know. But as far as living with him now, so my son stays with his dad, and some challenges because they stay in Nipoma, California. I think Brother me have heard of that. That's like almost another hour drive after Santa Barbara. That's where he lives to today. But because of me already raising him in a way where he's familiar with his dad, he has somebody that raised him who is a man, right? Until he was at least 4 years old, he already know that there's always going to be a man in his life, right? So he has the foundation. Nobody's saying anything bad about his father, you know, regardless. What we women have to realize, when we lay down with a man, we choose that man for whatever our reason is. There is a connection. Maybe we were meant to repair them, or maybe they were meant to repair us. Something in us connected with them. At some point, we're done with it. It is okay to step back, but you now have to go through the journey of healing, right? If I may say so, that it is extremely important, right? What we end up doing. Till today, my son still lives with his father, right? 23 years old, got going to school, starting his own business, doing all types of things. Now working for a company that's getting government contract, has been the only black person there. But what I did was I did more. I introduced my son to a lot of black people that I was talking about, whether you're talking about Dr. Claude Addison, a lot of Dr. Francis Westling, Dr. Francis Westling book, a lot of black stuff. You understand? So I made sure, I told him, I said, listen, we're already in a society where there is a deficit. I need you. I'm raising you not just as a boy in America, not as a man in America, but I'm raising you to be a warrior. Before you ever commit a crime, I need you to remember me. And most of all, you don't lay down with anybody that doesn't look like you. So now we established that. And I pound that conversation on his head every day, day in, day out, day in, day out. Now we are at a point now He got it, right? He's been getting it for years, right? My son at 23, at 21, I think he told me he wanted to move out of the house with his friends, white friends, to go and get a house together. I said, no, you stay with your father. If your father, if his job is not enough, he can get a second job. If my job is not enough, I will get a second job. You stay with your father. And I told him, I said, you are a leader. As a leader, you don't follow nobody anywhere.
That's good advice.
These things that I've said, I'm
Yes.
telling you at 23, right? If he wants to go anywhere, he will call me. I just want to let you know. That's not making him weak. He's just letting me know what is going down, right?
That's good.
And at times, I will say, I don't want you to do these things. And he will say, why? So if my reason is not good enough, he'll say, Mom, I understand what you mean. I'm still going to go anyway. So now both of us were at the point where about a year ago, he told his dad, he says, 5 years from now, I'm going to Nigeria. I'm done here. So at 23, we're there, right? 23, he's still a virgin. He's studying a lot of, he's studying a lot of meditation. Yes.
That's
I'll
good.
tell you why that is important. Listen, the longer you can hold yourself.
Stop laughing, Dynast.
No, it's okay.
I ain't laughing. I ain't
Yes,
laughing.
you are.
Listen, you see, me as a mother, right? There are certain conversations you have to start having with your children very early on. You're gonna have to have this conversation. There is a reason for it, right? Because he got into meditation very early on, he understands the power of meditation, which is where I'm coming with the sister.
That's good.
You need to make sure he start doing yoga, he start getting into meditation. But the most important meditation that your son need right now is you get him a ticket, get him a passport. With very little money, he can go ahead to Africa and find his way over there.
Yeah, I have a friend in Nigeria that wants him to come. And I asked him, like, do you want to go?
Don't ask him. We're done with asking. Listen, you are my only child. We're not gonna have criminal in the family.
Hey, we got to go back to Africa, but hey, Missy Barb, we got to go back to Africa. We could go ahead and when you finish,
go back to Africa.
Hey, how's it going? You know, our lovely sister here, Abera, she got them beautiful African stories. So, you know, sometimes, you know, it can go on. So, but I wanted to put my 2 cents in, you know, not to interrupt my lovely sister.
Go ahead.
Sure.
I know the conversation has gone in different areas and stuff, and I just wanted to share from a father and a grandfather's perspective on, and this is to Abundant Sunflower. I believe, in my own humble opinion, it is important for you to go with your son to see his father. If he's asked you to do so, that is part of him. Though that things were not correct and he may not feel as though that he has that connection because of the distance in their relationship, I still think that there is some to be salvaged while his father's here on this earth. The reason why I say that, because I'm speaking from experience with my own son. My son told me at times that he could not call me dad because he did not feel it in him because of my absenteeism over the years. So I took the approach of, you ain't got to call me dad. Call me by my first name. I don't care. Because whether or not you don't see me as your dad, look at me as an elder. Look at me as an older one that here is to advise you, because he didn't have anyone positive in a male sense, because majority of his side of his mother are all women. And so now he now bends my ear and he requests for my guidance.
Exactly.
And so I say to you that the first thing that you ought to do before going to Africa,
that is
before
true,
you go back to Africa, is for him to know himself through his father.
Yes.
Because once he gets that void filled, is when then he reached a full completion of knowing who he is. He knows his mom, but then completing himself through his father, because you're going to be the facilitator, the mediator, the one that's going to usher him in, so that then whatever it is that your son's feeling, that he feels as though he needs to be accompanied, in order for you to be there, you bridge the gap. And I think it's a powerful position that you should play.
Yeah.
And so just keep that in mind, because our young Black men today don't have a clue. I'm gonna say Black males, because they don't even know what a man is. They don't know what it is about being a man. I told my daughters right here, every male shouldn't be given the title man. You know, I heard you say, you know, about, you know, your son's a man or grown. You said he was grown, he's a man. And to me, I told my daughters, there are some qualifications that you should have in place already to make sure that the one that approaches you, who has an interest in you, should fill those blocks in if he is a man. Now, I tell my daughters, don't mess with one man. Don't mess with a male who has not had a male role model, a father figure in his life. He does not have a clue how to be that man, husband, and father. Now, some people say that's being biased or prejudiced against one. I said, no, the key, I didn't say he had to have the dad at home. He should have a positive male figure or role model in his life that has been poured into him on how to be a man. There's plenty of males out here who's in that 50s, 60s, 70s that ain't reached manhood.
Exactly.
That are poor examples of being a role model that misguide our young brothers out here into thinking they are really men. So keep that in mind, my sister. As I like to say,
I agree with you. I agree.
You can eat. There's a gold nugget. You can either pick it up or you can kick it aside.
Brother, go back to Africa. I have a question for you. For you, brother. Will you not say that our issue with our men, or our issue with Black men to women, is it so bad that it needs to affect our children like this? Is there?
Yeah, say that. Repeat that one more time.
I said our issue, is it so bad that we can keep the connection going? Is our issue with each other so bad that we can't keep our connection going, especially when there is already children involved?
Yeah, when you see that most in the Black community household are raised by women, and a young boy who is in the household, his only reference of a relationship growing up is him and his mother. And if mother is not necessarily equipped because my hat's off to mothers who try their best. I mean, you trying to play two roles and trying to keep things balanced in the household on raising a young man. You know, my dad left when I was 16 years old. My mom had a hell of a time in that last year and a half with me at home, because I got myself into this mindset that I'm gonna do it my way now. My dad was one who was absent, as we were talking about. You know, you can have a dad in the household, he still can be absent. I didn't have no relationship with my dad. My dad didn't sit down and have talks with me. It was my mother all the time that tried her best to pour into me in the example. But I did learn from my dad things. And back to your question, is that how then do we see brothers and sisters trying to carry on relationships when they haven't had any good examples of how they should be effective in the relationship they're in, when all they had was a mama raising them trying their best to keep them on the guided path when you trying to correct them and discipline them, and that raises resentment.
And
I
you
say
have
this
the
right here:
society, yeah.
mothers should never. This is why one should understand why even in the scrolls, the ancient writings, all right there, it is not a mother's place to correct a young man. It is a place for a father,
Yeah.
because the young boy will be raised up with resentment towards a woman. That's why some run
Yes,
white. That's
I'm
why
seeing
some
that
become
now.
abusive towards sisters. Yeah.
I'm
They'll go
seeing it
abusive
now.
towards sisters that are connected with the sisters. Yeah, because mothers tried their best to raise them and correct them and discipline them to where then that now they become dangerous.
Resentful.
Mothers should never have to be. Mothers, when they're trying to correct it, because when you become of age, you smelling yourself, and you become a teenage, boy, and you're coming into your manhood, you rebel, you buff up, you resist, because that is the tendencies within the genetics of who we are, of becoming a man. And it takes a man to take his hand and guide him along. He'll snatch his hand away from mama because mama can't relate to him.
Exactly.
So
Especially when you already been harassed on the street by the police and the society is beating you down already, so you're coming home to your mom again to be telling you what to do.
Yeah, your mama now telling you what to do, and now you like, nah, I ain't taking these orders. I did the same thing with my mom. My mom tried to tell me what to do when my dad left. I'm like, please. And this is what she did. She told me this because my mom had an iron fist. She didn't take no mess. East St. Louis, that's where she was from. She told me, she said, son, if you cannot follow the rules of the house, you have to make a choice. You can go ahead, follow the rules, or hit that front door. I chose to hit the front door. And when I got to that front door and she allowed me, she said, I'm going to do this as a kindness to allow you to pack some stuff and take with you. I shouldn't let you take anything, but she was teaching me a lesson. She said, when you hit that front door, it is not revolving. That's exactly what my mama told me. And I left and went to my friends, because I left home at 17 and went into the military. But I resented my mother. I resented my mom. My mom was an abusive woman. She was stepping in the absence of my father. My father was home every day, coming home, but my dad laid his head down. He got back out in the streets, hung with his buddies. And my mom was left to try to raise two boys as best as she could. And once when we seen eye to eye to her, she knew there was going to be problems. There was no more now whipping, because we can grab the daggone, what she used was stenching cords. Snatch it out of her hand and look her dead in the face and say, no more. Now, my brother, he married two white women. I went to sisters. But I'd be damned, back then, a sister would even open her mouth in any type of aggressive way towards me. I always selected those sisters who were reserved in their words.
Exactly.
Because I didn't want that combativeness, what I was raised in, from a woman. Now, my brother now going through, he says, I'm coming back to our sisters, because the reason why I went white was because every time I tried to deal with a sister, all I saw was mom. This is what my brother told me. And he realizes it.
That's deep.
Yeah. So that's why, hopefully I answered your question, my sister.
Yes.
Go back to Africa.
Yes.
That's a hell of a story, my friend. It's a hell of an account, because I know a friend of mine, similar story to yours. That very similar story, actually, and it was two boys, happened to be two boys. It didn't end up as well as yours, because at least you figured it out. You had the military to jump in, which gave you structure. I said earlier, structure is more important than kindness.
Exactly.
And what your dad gave you, Ms. Obara, is structure.
Oh yeah.
Because this is where the challenge in the community is, as I see it, right? My wife can speak better to this than I do, but because she studied this thing. But structure is important because I grew up, okay, just the same way when she was referencing her father, I was thinking back of my father. And I was thinking about the wise words he gave me and the structure he gave me. But, you know, my sister raised 2 kids on her own. They divorced fairly early. But because she had structure, even when the relationship, and by the way, she never once spoke bad about the dad. That's just rule number 1, cardinal sin. Just don't, if when you split up the relationship, let the kids determine that on their own.
That's it.
Very, very important. So she did exactly as you did, Ms. Obara, and the results speak for themselves because these are, you know, they're up in their 40s now and successful in life.
That's what you want.
Exactly. Earlier, he mentioned about going with your Abundant Sunflower, about going with your son to go see his dad. One thing every parent must understand: it's not all about you. It's about the kid. And if you can climb Mount Everest to make your kids have a better future, climb Mount Everest. You can complain all the way you want up there, but climb Mount Everest. Yeah. If you have to swim in the deepest ocean to make your kids have a good future, do it. So, as Go Black to Africa said, if going to see him means you have to bite your lip, squeeze your hand, do whatever you have to do, because what you're showing him is experience is the best teacher. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't want it, but if you can put aside and compartmentalize the discomfort you have, he will recognize that, and he will realize that he one day will be called upon to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So you can't tell kids at 23 what to do. You have to show them what to do.
Exactly.
You've passed the stage where you can tell them what to do. I mean, you can tell them some things, but it has to be built on some experience or structure. Remember what Miss Obara said? She said she trusts her father because her father said, you can do this. So she went out and did it. Didn't even question it. She went out and did it. And you are in a position to do that. So even when your kid is 24 years old or 23 or 22, your most powerful tool is what you're going to do from an example. Yes. So, yes, the kid knows that you might not get along well with that family. But this is not about you. It's about the kid. This is about the kid, his future. Because as Go Black to Africa said, when they're gone, if that father is gone, you'll have a messed up kid for life. And do you want a messed up kid, or do you want to bite your lip and go do what you know you have to do? So you may not have thought of it from that perspective, but to be honest with you, that is, I think, Go Black to Africa said it. I said it. Ms. Obara said it. I honestly, I think that you're in a really good position with your kid to really help him.
Exactly.
You got to provide structure. Part of structure is what you're willing to do, what they see you do. Because, as I said, action speaks louder than word. Yes. And by you know, and you say to him, look, I'm not comfortable doing this, but I'm doing this for you. Right? They know, and that will, you are imprinting on them how they have to conduct themselves, even when things are uncomfortable. Because I have news for you and for most people. If you and your wife or you and your husband are in a big argument, when the argument is over, you have to get your butt up and go to work to go provide, to bring home the bacon. You have bigger responsibilities, and what is going to matter most is not the conversation you had before, but what you do in terms of your action. Yes, right? Because she or he will know whether or not you're for them based on your action. So my advice to you would be, as he said, go, because it's about your child. You want to set them up for life, and you do not. He may not look. He's 22. He's not going to understand the value of going to see him, especially now before he gets. Let's say he gets really, really sick. you don't want him to have to find out after the fact that I should have done this, because all you're doing now is piling more emotions on top of, you know, already screwed up, or should I say challenged emotions, right? So you now when you talk to your kid, you talk to your kid through, not through say this or say that, right? Now you talk to your child in terms of experience or conversations. It works even with teenager. When my daughter was young, and she would ask me things, and I would just simply ask her back some questions, and then she thought about it, like, you know, Dad, you're right. I never said anything to her. I just asked, and when she thought through the process, she realized, oops, that's a dumb thing she was trying to do, or a dumb thing, and she corrected it. But what that taught her is to think the process through.
Yes.
And that's what you have to do with your son, because now he's at the age where he has to start to make decisions on his own. That's going to affect his life. And the decision-making process is critical. You have to help him to start to make critical decisions. Go Black to Africa said that his mom told him, when you get to that door, it's a one-way street. It's a one-way street. He knew one thing. It was a one-way street when he got to that door. That's structure. And you know what? So as not to go back on his word, he got himself in the military. So he was acting on what his mom said to him. Now, that may have been tough, what she did. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying she gave a structure, and he knew what he was playing with. He knew the cards he was dealing with, and so he made the decision. When your son went to the shelter, all they gave him was structure. You have to be here at this time. You have to do this. You have to do that. Structure. And he conducted himself in that structure.
And
That's
you know what? He was around a lot of older Black men, and I noticed that really made a difference.
Yes, because he was no longer the alpha.
And there was nothing but older Black men that worked in the shelter, so he got to see that also.
Exactly. They told him and said, dude, you know, because they've been down that road a lot longer than him, and they would look at him like, kid, you got it made. What are you talking about? You got a mom who's willing to keep you in the house? Are you mad? You know, and sometimes coming from somebody outside is a help.
It's a good thing, yeah.
But structure is critical, especially in a single family, mom-raised household. Once you have structure, how many kids stick their hand in a hot pot? Not many. The first time you do it, you get burned, you realize, oops, this is not something. So that's structure itself, because you know the pot is not going to forgive you, or the hot pot is not going to forgive you, whether you're 10 or 25. The same thing in America, the country is about structure. In the Black community, the structures are breaking down. And when the structures break down, we see the result. There are a lot of single family households, but I've seen single parent. Like I said, not tooting my sister's horn, I have two sisters who both got divorced early on. And all their kids are professionals with master's degree and whatever else, because they themselves received structure. So all they knew in life was to create structure around them. So the kids grew up in a structured environment. And as I said, they never spoke bad of the dad.
That thing is very important. I can't begin to tell you. And for us as Black women, if I may say something, Mr. Africa Always. So even just fast forward from that 2013, everybody know what happened with the pandemic. So I went to California last year, right? I have not seen everybody in a while, including my ex, right? Though we see each other, you know, stuff like that, but it's not. So when I saw him, you see, when everybody is cordial, we wish each other well, especially because I'm into a lot of health stuff, I send him information, you know. So when I saw him, just to show the type of a man that he is, and he was back then, he saw me and he came out of his house, in front of his house. I went to his house to go and see, you know, because my son says to me that my brothers and sisters, they've been waiting for you. They want to see you. This is my ex-husband that has children, right? His new wife They've been married for a while. She was at home. I got there and he came out of his house and hugged me as if we're, is it sisters and brothers or a long lost family, right? And we just started having conversation, and he has a concern about going back to Nigeria. Mr. Amir, remember the Igbos, a lot of situation with safety over there. And
I think, I mean, but that's another.
I say, listen,
that's another show.
That's another story. But what I told him, I says, I don't care if you got there and they kill you. You need to go. You see, my mentality is different. You're not going to scare me away from my father's land. So if they kill you, those are your people, go.
But you gave him structure, though. You see, you gave him structure. Listen, I told you, when I left my parents' house, I was 17, right? And my parents would say I did pretty damn good, at least if they were alive. It's not the age. It's how did you equip them enough to navigate the challenges they're going to face, right? I've been to Russia. I don't know how to read Russian, but I was able to navigate myself walking around the streets because there were a lot of things that were familiar to me, right? The street lights where it was red, you don't walk, right? So it's the same thing in life. When you navigate life, you look for key points reference points that you have. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, right? Yeah. If I fly to Ibadan, I'm not going to go into the slum at 2 a.m. in the morning. Nothing good is going to come out of that. You understand me? So no one has to tell you that. There's a structure that's set up. So when you're a mom in particular, because it's as Go Back to Africa said, the earlier you can put a structure in, where even if the relationship breaks down, the structure is still there, then you have the best chance. It's not the ideal, but it's the best chance of making sure that the kids have what they need. And the biggest thing that's lacking in our community is decision-making process. How do we make decisions? Why do we do things what we do? And why do we say what we say? That is the biggest challenge. And that's what, when we raise our kids, that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to give them the knowledge and the experience and the know-how to make decisions, because life is all about decisions, whether it's investment, who you marry, and so on and so forth. And, with respect to who you marry, yes, many people marry the wrong person because you're incompatible. But keep in mind, I've been married 32 years. 32 years. And it feels like probably, well, I have to look at my daughter and I realize it's 32 years, but it doesn't feel that way. Thank you. But let me tell you this, I'm not the exception here. There are quite a few of us out there. One common thing that made it possible is the example I saw from my father. That is a big, big piece. But the other piece of it was, my mom said to me very early on, when I met your dad, at that point they didn't have that much, but I knew where he was going, and I signed up for it. So when you meet a young person that you want to go down the road with, make sure that that young person and you are on the path together. Because when the arguments come, when the disagreements come, what binds you together is the destination. You can argue all you want, but if you agree to go to Florida, you gotta get to Florida. It's the South. You can't go west. You can't go north, right? What binds you, what binds both of you is that destination. And so Abundant Sunflower, go with him.
Yes.
Bite your lip, do whatever you have to do, because what you're going to be doing, and what you're going to do is you're telling him, you're showing him, here is how you conduct yourself when you are in that situation, right? You might not like it, you might not, this might not be something you want to do, but at least at a minimum, he will walk away saying, you know what? I respect my mom because she did this for me. She didn't want to do it. She hated doing that, but she went out of her way and do it. And people, whether they might tell you thanks or not, know when someone does something for them that is a sacrifice.
Yes.
Right? They know the difference. So that would be my recommendation to you. And to all the single mothers out there, I know it's a nightmare story, but the reality is you can still raise well-adjusted kids. Just remember, structure before kindness. Structure
Yes,
before
I
kindness.
appreciate your advice. I appreciate all of you guys' advice and Go Black to Africa. It was on
My
my
sister,
mind
you'll be
actually.
all right.
Yeah, it was on my mind like all last week. Like, let me just take him to see his dad. And then I swear to God, all of a sudden I saw Dinus live, and I'm like, why haven't I been getting notifications in like a year? No lie, like a year. I'm like, I think I saw Dinus in different people's like lives and stuff, but I didn't realize like why I'm not getting his lives. So what happened is I changed my Gmail, the one that I used to use when I was subscribed to Dinus, and then I had to resubscribe to this one. And today I caught his live, and like, and this is my first time ever getting on Dinus Live, and it's like, damn, this is like therapy for me. So I really appreciate it.
Because things like this is universe reaching out to
Yes,
you.
it's
That
crazy.
this conversation has already taken place. This conversation was just a confirmation, right?
Yes,
So
because we were
I
talking about
mean,
real estate at first, right? And prices
Yeah, we
and
were
new
talking about
homes.
real estate, dual citizenship, real estate,
but
and
this
COVID
was
test.
the most important conversation that we're supposed to have today, you know. So please, my sister, just like everybody said, you're not really necessarily doing it for your ex, but you are mostly doing it for you, because the connection between you and your son is going to get stronger. And it's very important that we allow everybody to heal, you know.
Yes.
Please do it for you. And I would say, I want you to genuinely, when you get there, I want you to genuinely, however how you get there, that you lay down with that man and you have that child, I want you to genuinely let him know that you love him from the deepest part of your heart. I promise you, that
Yes.
will free you. Number one, I want you to, from here on, come together with your son and pray for his dad. Come together and always pray for your son. Start doing that from here on, you know, and let him know that he's the best part of both of you. This is what I told my son all the time, you know,
Wow.
that you are the best part of both of us. And I promise you, that is no lie. That is no lie. My son got, he did some of the package with brother Amian last year with, you know, some investment package. I think you've talked to him before, Bryant. I don't know if you recognize the name. Brian Toyeniki. I don't know if you ever remember his name, but yeah, it is Bryant Oyeniki.
Brian.
Yeah, like Bryant, Kobe Bryant. Yeah.
Brian, I don't remember him.
His last name, Onyeneke, something like that. Yeah.
What she just said, by the way, is critical. Abundant sunflower.
Yeah, he did some package. I'll test it to you later, but yeah.
Okay.
Abundant sunflower. What she said, in terms of, again, the most powerful thing you're going to do for him is what he's going to observe.
Yes.
And you can reach him by action, not by you saying to him X, but by what you do. And the other thing I would suggest as well, have conversations with him.
Yeah.
At first, it might be stupid conversations, but listen to him. Because after a while, and don't do a lot of the talking, do a lot of the listening. Because at some point, he's going to start to talk. And as he's going to start to talk, he's going to start to reason. He's going to start to think about what he's saying to you. And you might be shocked, some of the things you hear. But for him, who might not have thought the process, I thought these things through, now starts to think about these things, you know, with respect to his future. Like, what do you want to do? How can I help you with your future? What you tell me, because you're now 22, 23. Tell me what you want. And then when they tell you what you want, you're not solving the problem now. What you're going to do at that point is to say, okay, let's go over them one by one. So explain this one to me. And you genuinely sit down and listen. Let him explain as best he can. And if he needs 5 days to explain one thing, let him take 5 days to explain one thing. But you're always an ear. Because what you're going to find is that he is going to realize a lot of things on his own. In other words, you may have said it to him years ago, but all of a sudden, now that he's thinking through it, he started to realize, wait a second. You know, as I said to you, I never told my daughter, don't do this or don't do that. I simply asked her, if you did this, explain to me the full story. And 9 times out of 10, she would get three steps into the process and realize it was the wrong decision. And I didn't have to tell her, don't do it. But she now knows why it didn't make any sense. You can do the exact same thing with your son. And he will love you. He will think you're the best mom there is, because everyone wants a champion in their corner.
Yeah.
He just to not disappoint you, he will make sure you do the right thing. That's how powerful it is.
Yes, thank you. And I have some Nigerians praying for me, so you know that African power. I even have the pastor calls and pray for us too. So you know, I believe
I appreciate
that African, those African spirits.
Yes, ma'am. And what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
No problem. Everyone, I thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. Peace.
Thanks, Dynasty.
You're welcome.
Bye,
Anytime.
sister.